Girlfriend and I 26MF got into a huge fight over a keyboard, thinking about ending things based on her behavior, so my girlfriend and I, both 26, got in a fight about this 2 nights ago, and she's making it seem like I'm being an asshole. We've been dating for 4.5 months. My girlfriend has a 2013 Lenovo laptop that has seen better days. As it stands right now, among some other issues, her keyboard totally doesn't work. Because of this, she always uses a small Bluetooth keyboard with her laptop. She had texted me the next morning saying that her wireless keyboard had stopped working as well. We had already planned for me to stay the night at her place after I got off work, so I offered to stop by my place on the way to grab her a keyboard. As I have a few extras, when I got to her place, she was eagerly awaiting the keyboard, which makes sense, as she wasn't able to use her computer for most of the day. But when I handed her the keyboard, she started getting really quiet and pouty. A bit later, when I asked her what was wrong, she said she thought I'd be bringing her something nicer, like the keyboard I have at my desk. The thing is, I have a really nice keyboard at my desk. I'm a programmer, and I love this keyboard so much that I also bring it to work with me. I even have specific macro profiles for it that definitely improve my workflow. For context, I had an extra Amazon Basics keyboard $15 lying around, still brand new in the box. My personal keyboard, which I've had for years, is some variant of the Razer Black Widow, $120 anyway. She was apparently expecting me to be selfless and let her use my nice keyboard while I use the Amazon keyboard. She was upset that I didn't value her enough to lend her my nice possessions, and left her with the cheap $10 keyboard. Her words. She said if the situation was reversed, she'd lend me the nice keyboard. I explained to her that I have my keyboard specifically set up for work, and because I'm so used to it, it would hinder my ability to do work if I didn't have it. We continued to argue about it. Things really came to a head when she boldly claimed that if I wasn't willing to lend her my nice keyboard, that I should have bought her a nice new keyboard if I really cared about her. This is when I got really mad. I told her she was acting like an entitled, spoiled child, and that she should have been grateful that I went out of my way in the first place to grab her the Amazon keyboard. She started crying and asked me to go home. I left, but I still gave her the Amazon keyboard to use. I was far more upset at the principle of the situation than the keyboard itself. So now she's calling me an asshole for both not giving her my keyboard, and because I called her spoiled. We're going to meet up tomorrow to talk about this in person, because I refuse to continue this silly argument over text. I'm thinking about ending things with her, as I feel like this is her showing me her true colors. TLDR, GF's keyboard broke. I lent her one of my extras, and she got upset that it was a cheap keyboard. I called her spoiled, which infuriated her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you are honestly 100% right. She is acting like a spoiled child. Beggars don't get to be choosers. She wants your nice keyboard. She can buy one for herself. Better yet, she can buck up and save up for a new laptop. I don't blame you at all for feeling angry. I think you should attempt to talk through it before you decide to break up with her. But it is definitely a red flag that she's acting this way. Commenter 2, I think you got it right when you said she was a spoiled brat. She should have been grateful that you came over with a keyboard. Any kind of keyboard. Maybe she should take her own advice and be a little selfless. I would pose a question to you. If you two are fighting over a keyboard, what will happen when an issue that is a bit more serious comes up? Good luck with your talk. I have a feeling you are going to need it. Commenter 3, never marry someone until you've seen how they act on a really bad day. Edit. She texted me asking to meet up tonight instead of tomorrow, as she is feeling anxious and stressed about the situation. I will give everyone an update later tonight or tomorrow morning. I also wanted to clarify that she's never acted like this before, although, admittedly, we haven't been together for very long. Some of you suggested that maybe I'm not making her feel valued, and this situation is a symptom of that. While I think I both show and tell her that she's valued in different ways, this may be something I bring up with her. It of course doesn't forgive her behavior, but may explain some of it. Cheers. Update. We met earlier tonight and sat down to talk. I was somewhat prepared to end things with her, so I suggested we meet at her place, so that I could bail if things went south, and they did. Even though I thought I made my post as anonymous as possible, one of my GF's coworkers figured out who the post was about. GF's age. Working HR, which I mentioned in a comment. Same computer problems, dating a programmer, etc., and sent it to my GF. The reason she wanted to meet early was because she was furious that I had made the post, airing our dirty laundry. In a sense, I guess she was right, because at least one person had figured it out. My GF never used Reddit, so I figured I was safe. There's a strong chance she'll read this one as well. Anyway, she immediately began berating me, telling me that I made her look bad in the post and lied about the details of our argument to get people on my side. I asked her to point out any part of it that wasn't true, or where I had lied. Long story short, she couldn't point to a single thing. I definitely raised my voice when I told her that if she looked bad, it's only because of her actions. I told her I only made the post to get some perspective on the matter. The post was 100% accurate and she knew it. She began to tear up and asked me if I really was considering leaving her over the keyboard. I asked her if she understood that this wasn't about the keyboard. It was about the way she acted towards me when I was trying to do her a favor. She stayed silent and didn't answer. I asked her what had prompted this outburst, if everything was okay with her. I asked if anything had happened with her friends, parents, or at work that was upsetting her and may have led to this. She got really defensive, asking, "Are you calling me crazy? And do you think I'm unstable?" I had no idea where she was going with this. I told her I wasn't calling her crazy, but that she had to understand that I was quite confused about how she was acting, and that there had to be a reason for it. We talked in circles for a bit, and I tried to pry it out of her. I still don't know what caused all of this because she simply wouldn't tell me. When I realized our conversation was going nowhere, I finally asked her if we were going to have an adult conversation, or if this was the hill she was willing to let the relationship die on. She asked, "What do you want from me?" And I said, "I want an apology. I'm getting tired of typing, so I'll wrap this up quickly." She was absolutely unwilling to apologize. She thought that my betrayal of posting about this was far worse than her initial behavior was. We talked for about 5 more minutes before I told her that I don't even care anymore. I told her this whole thing was exhausting, as she wasn't willing to help us get to the bottom of this, that we should just break up. I didn't waste any time making my way to the door. As I was leaving, she asked if I wanted the keyboard back. She didn't ask to be nice. She was definitely trying to get on my nerves. I could tell by her tone of voice. I told her she could keep it as long as she promised never to call or text me again. I've been getting tons of not-so-nice messages from her friends, which finally prompted me to delete my FB. She obviously told her friends some false version of the story, which made it seem like I really did leave her over the keyboard. I couldn't care less, as I'll never be seeing any of them again. We only dated for 4 months, so in the end, I don't feel terribly heartbroken. Mostly just relief that it's over, but also confusion. Still have no idea why she acted out TLDR. She wouldn't apologize or tell me what was wrong. After an exhausting conversation, I decided to end it. And to the people who had some unkind words towards me because I use a Razer keyboard. #, dorks, I like what I like, very short edit. She called earlier today and was very apologetic. My assumption is that she saw this post and read all the comments detailing how I was right for leaving her. Among other things, I told her that she had her chance to apologize. Top comment, commenter. I saw a comment on Reddit a while back that asked why so many relationships fail at approximately the 3-month point. And someone, no, I'm not going to spend 20+ minutes Googling to give credit to the person, replied that they'd once been told it was because it was really hard for people to continue pretending to be someone they weren't for much longer than 3 months. I think maybe this applies to your situation. Stories number 2. Ida for not helping my parents during their financial troubles and telling them to get help from my sister instead since she gets everything from them and I get nothing. My sister 21 and I 24 were raised differently by our parents. They would throw money at her whenever she wanted it, and they would spend it even if she didn't ask for something, just because they could. I had to ask for everything, and most of the time I had to justify why I needed my request met. And to do that, I had to write or type out a detailed argument on why I should get any of their money. Most times I was denied because they didn't think it was a need. Whenever they denied me, I got lectured on learning to work my ass off and learning how to beg just right and doing whatever it took for money, only to be told afterward that I needed my own money because theirs was not for me. When I was 16, my parents told me they would not help me with college in any way. They wouldn't even fill out FAFSA forms for me to find out what I was eligible for. When my guidance counselor asked them to reconsider, they said no. And if I wanted to go to college, I would need to put myself through college and take on the debt myself. My guidance counselor still wanted me to go, and so did many of my teachers. But I chose to do something else. I didn't want a lifetime of debt to follow me around. My parents didn't care because either way, I was expected to find my own way and pay for everything myself. With my sister, it was different. They bought her a brand new car, bought all kinds of stuff she wanted and liked, paid 100% of everything for her college expenses. They were even sending her extra money to buy stuff while she was attending college. And now they have run out of money, and they're in debt because they borrowed to pay more college expenses for her. Then they turned to me and asked for my help because they weren't sure if they could eat or pay any bills with the debt they are now in. I didn't even get much of an explanation at first. But I have told them no each time, and I told them to get my sister to help them since she's the one who gets everything from them anyway, and I couldn't even get a stupid form signed by them. They're mad about it, and so is my sister, who thinks I am wildly unfair to push this back on her. She said I'm older anyway, so I should be helping them. Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. Your parents are reaping what they sow. Cut contact, have a great life. Reply. I've been considering it for the last few years, so it might be time to follow through. Commenter 2, I would personally be a bitch, so only do this if you want to be a bitch. Send them a text message telling them that they need to explain in detail, the way they used to have you do, why they need this money. Make sure that every little detail is in there. Then, respond back with each thing they request, why you're saying no, alluding to all of them that they aren't needs. They need the electric bill paid? No. They need another job. They need food for money? Nope. They need to start a garden in their backyard. Then, after you've given them a no for everything, and by letting them know that you're blocking them and your sister and going no contact, because you're making sure that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps the way they taught you, then block and live your life. Commenter 3 NTA, I see your family has entered the FO phase of FAFO. But my question for you is, why are you still communicating with these people? What do they even bring to the table that justifies you spending a minute of your time on them? Look up the term found families and go find people who will appreciate and love you for being the awesome you that you are, and will love and support you with no expectations of recompense. They are out there, and they are worth looking for. I have 90% of my family on VLC because they just DGF to reach out, and they only do that when they want something. Caller ID allows me to choose if I want to answer, and I rarely do, very, very rarely reply. I've considered no contact before, but just never followed through. I can't answer why other than the expectation to work through things with family. Commenter 4 NTA. Did they type up a detailed explanation as to why they needed your help and how they were going to use the money? Reply, nope, and no begging either. It felt more like they were demanding it. Stories number 3. Immigrant parents do not want me to become a mental health counselor. I recently was accepted into a clinical mental health counseling program in Michigan. I'm 25 years old and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in 2019. Since then I worked as a civil engineer and also held a managerial role at a tech startup. Since I was a child, I have loved helping others and always wanted to become a mental health counselor. But parental family pressure pushed me towards a STEM career. My end goal is to start my own private practice as a psychotherapist. I'm a male from a South Asian background, so this is a non-traditional path. My family has been against this decision, saying that it is a poor financial decision, and starting a private practice is impractical. The program is going to take me 2 years if I go full-time through the accelerated path. I want to be able to support a family one day with my career, but the concerns my parents keep pushing have triggered some doubt in me. What if the market in my area is oversaturated? I have interviewed some mental health counselors that are making about $30K a year, even with a master's degree. I'm not afraid to work hard to build my career. After I graduated college, I didn't mind working 80 hours a week, working 2 full-time jobs to build my future. Is the future as bleak as my family is making it seem, or is this their immigrant survival instincts coming out? Can anyone talk about their journey of starting a private practice? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Comment. I think my parents may still be stuck on survival mode since it was very stressful for them to build a life here. Maybe that's causing them anxiety about me going a different path. Update. Hey guys. I posted here a few weeks ago and wanted to give an update. Background. My immigrant parents aren't too happy with me going to graduate school to become a psychotherapist. I did my BS in civil engineering, but it was never what I wanted to do. They told me I was going to be limited to $30K a year forever with significant student loans. Update. I wanted to better understand if my parents were being irrational, or if this was the brutal reality of mental health in the United States. My parents told me that they knew of a therapist who finished his grad school and is now on the brink of being homeless. His private practice was not panning out and he couldn't find any clients. I wanted to understand how common this was, so I reached out to a lot of therapists to understand their journey. I sent DMs to people in this subreddit and in person to practitioners near me. Thank you all for being so open and transparent with me. I interviewed about 50 therapists working across different states and sectors. I asked about life after grad school, what regrets they had, compensation history, and if they knew of any horror stories. The general lessons I learned were, there were very few therapists that were at the $30K point. The only ones I could find were those who opted to work in nonprofits. It's challenging to get compensated appropriately there since the budget is so tight. The most difficult time in most therapists' careers is in the first 2 years after grad school while you have a limited license. This time needs to be treated like a residency. The wages differ by state, but the average during this time, $55K. 3. Once you have a full license, your wages drastically go up. Once again, the figures vary. The general average at a group practice at this stage was $90K, $120K. I also spoke to many people who started a private practice at this stage. This removes a lot of bureaucracy and paperwork, but puts finding bureaucracy and management on your shoulders. Many of those people were making about $180K, usually with 25 clients a week and $150 a session. I met a few who worked less because they wanted to focus on a different project, or spend more time with their families. I also met a few experienced therapists who were charging $250 session due to their niche, and had 40 clients a week. Talking to everyone removed a lot of my anxiety. My parents weren't convinced, so they told me to meet up with a therapist that was a family friend. I decided to go meet him. I was quite confused at how his person's experience could be so different from all of the people I had interviewed. I went to his office and first saw a sign that said, Metaphysical Minister. A bit confused, I knocked and entered his office. I saw some abstract paintings and an array of crystals on his desk. I told him I liked his rocks, and he started to tell me about the energy healing powers of gems. My confusion grew. I sat with him and asked about his journey. He told me he was trained in the Caribbean to help people. I asked him if he was a therapist and he told me no, but that he's an ordained minister so could technically do counseling. The blood left my face. I asked him again to explain what kind of degree he had. He told me again he was a trained metaphysical minister. Note, metaphysics is defined as an idea, doctrine, or posited reality outside of human sense perception. I asked him, are you allowed to be called a therapist? Is there any regulatory board over you? And he told me no, there isn't. And it dawned on me that he was a wizard. This whole time my parents thought I was training to become a psychic. I thanked him for his time and left. I then sat in my car for 30 minutes in shock. This was the man who was behind all of this. The one who caused all of this confusion. The one who sent me on a goose chase to understand how therapists become homeless. I told my parents what happened, and went to go take a nap without listening to their response. I had a killer headache for the rest of the day. They don't seem to be on my case anymore, so maybe they changed their minds, or are too embarrassed to talk about it anymore. I spent so much time researching a problem that doesn't exist. Anyway, I'm starting grad school on Sept 6th. Thank you guys for all of the support and for everyone who was so transparent about their salaries. I'll keep everyone updated. Stories number 4. I turned down a proposal so he tried to kill me. My now ex of 8 years is locked up. He decided to propose on our 8th anniversary whilst completely blacked out drunk. I told him for the millionth time, I won't say yes if you're drunk. I'm scared of you drunk. He tore my door down and grabbed me by the hair. He smacked my head into the wall so hard there are holes. He bit my thumb so hard it almost broke. I still can't bend it. I'm bruised and sore. I don't even remember him dangling me off the balcony. I suppose my brain blocked that part out. My dad heard the fight and my pleading and he saved me. I called 911 and it took 2 cops to beat him down to get him off of me. Yesterday was my interview for my dream job. I still went, with heavy makeup. I pray they didn't notice my injuries. DSS CPS Department of Social Services showed up about our son that was asleep through the assault. I've been named his guardian, and my ex is banned from speaking to me. He may only see our son when sober and his mother present. Without alcohol, he's as good as gold. But he certainly tried to kill me and I can never forgive him. Today I'm not as angry. I'm simply sad that I've lost my family. Why would I even feel sad for that abuser? Can anyone point me in a good direction for resources? I have a victim's advocate. I'm embarrassed, sore, angry, and now sad. I do not know how to navigate this. I've been through hell the last 7 years and thought I had my happy ending. Relevant comments. OOP needs to get away from her ex for her own safety along with her son's. Reply. I suppose this is all for the best for our son. He doesn't deserve that at all. Nor does my daughter, whose father is deceased and I share custody with her grandmother. Was your dad abusive? I swear my ex treated me like gold, besides the 3 incidents of violence. the last one being the last straw. My children never saw this, but my eldest knows about it. Commenter 1. Be prepared to be love-bombed. He will seem to return to the person you first met. And he will be very remorseful and say alcohol made him do it, and he will promise to stop drinking. He will behave great around your child and act like a perfect father. Don't believe it. The number one predictor of someone being killed by a partner is a recent incident where the partner attempted to kill or inflicted severe life-threatening injuries. Reply, he choked me 7 years ago during a breakup. He did exactly that and returned to substance abuse and physical abuse. He won't trick me this time. Cops told me there won't be fourth time. He will kill me next time he's angry. Commenter 2. Even if you're letting go of a really toxic person in your life, there may still be grief. You are grieving, and that's okay. You are so strong, and you have to stay that way for your child. He needs you. You have a great dad. You need to get some counseling for grief and probably PTSD. Good luck. Reply, I had emergency counseling 2 days later, yesterday, and my therapist is extremely worried, because I already have severe PTSD from a number of traumatic events, including our first son dying, which led to his drinking, and my daughter's father being killed in an accident. Several sexual assaults. I could go on. I do not feel human right now. I feel like a proper idiot. OOP needs to contact organizations that provides assistance to abused women. Reply, yes, I have a victim's advocate, and they have me connected with Safe Harbor. I do have a therapist, but she's not my favorite. She's tough on me though, and I kinda need that, so even though seeing her gives me horrible anxiety, and I usually sob the whole session, I need her tough love right now. Commenter 3. Ask your victim advocate about a restraining order and getting an official custody plan and child support put in place by your local court. This man just tried to kill you. He could very well succeed next time. This isn't a guy you can negotiate with, so you need the state to be the heavy and enforce things. Please see what your legal rights are and make sure you use them. Reply, I've been through family court with my daughter. I actually know what I'm doing with that, unfortunately. If I land this new job, I'll be made to afford a good lawyer and get this taken care of properly to avoid a future battle. I'll have to get him while he's weak, before he has enough sober time. But no, I honestly anticipate just dealing with his parents because I basically was his fucking mother for 8 years too. I control all of our accounts. He doesn't even know how to handle his own job's websites. I've done everything because otherwise he just didn't. It's a goddamn mess. Commenter 4. It's not like the movies where abusers are obviously the bad guy. Abusers can seem to be great, loving people a lot of the time. That's why people stay, because they get loved and love-bombed and treated so well that the abuse is thought to just be an aberration. Oh, he's a great guy. He's just an angry drunk. But he doesn't get drunk that often. So our lives are good for the most part. Nobody's perfect. Everyone has their problems. But I can deal with him temper on occasion. Living with an abuser. It's like the abusive episode just kinda happens. It's something that is done to both the abuser and the abused. Because the abuser is a great person, right? So they must be suffering as much as the abused, and especially afterwards when the abuser was so remorseful, right? Yep. Came from a house with abusive parents. Not all of it was bad. There were plenty of great times. Which kinda fucks you up even more. And note, he can't blame this on the alcohol. I've known recovering alcoholics that know they can't drink because they become angry drunks. They know when they start drinking, they are going to do things they regret. Your husband knew what he became when he drank and still did it. The whole thing fucks with your head and with your kids' heads. Yes, it's good they didn't see it, but they could certainly feel the emotional tenor of the house. Contact your victim advocate and see what other resources there are available. Your advocate helps you with the court system, which is great. But there should also be therapeutic resources available. Reply, Jesus, this just blew my mind. It made me cry. Which I think is the first time I've cried this entire time. It made this real. I definitely feel more afraid for my kids than anything else, but the severity of it really didn't hit me until I posted this. I'll definitely pursue this to the fullest extent possible and make sure this is all processed the correct way. I keep thinking he'll be basically in quarantine with his parents. But I need to secure my legal rights immediately. And therapy? I do go to therapy, but it seems like it'll need to be more specialized if it's going to work. I appreciate you and everyone else giving such in-depth insight. It's been invaluable and I'm forever grateful. Commenter 5. You may not see this, but you need to find a way to completely cut contact. He shouldn't be around you at all, not even to see his son. Plenty of stories of women being killed despite being broken up because he was allowed to see his kid. I don't know how it can be done, but it's only a matter of time before he does something. Someone this dangerous should be nowhere near you. ever reply. He got out of jail last night. He called me, he said, "Baby, what did I do? I took one of your anxiety pills and had 10 beers. I told him to not call me that. I told him DSS is involved now and I refuse to be treated this way." He sobbed and sobbed. I refused to show weakness and told him this was it. His parents are with him and my son right now. I am obtaining an order of protection Monday. He can't drive and needs massive surgery, so he has trouble walking when sober. Does that mean he won't retaliate? I don't know. I've read a lot of studies and personal stories of exes killing their exes. He was actually locked up with a local man accused of shooting his wife in the face. I'm pretty shaken up right now. I contacted my caseworker and she referred me to some different services. I've got a lot to think about now. Update. 15 months ago my ex violently attacked me. I ignored Reddit's advice and eventually took him back. My husband of nearly a decade nearly killed me while blackout drunk. The comments I received from a post I made then bluntly explained what my future would be if I took him back. I am ashamed to say that I did indeed take him back, but lived apart while he went through a lot of therapy for anger and alcohol. Things were decent for about 8 months, but he quickly reverted back to heavy drinking and violent behavior. I felt utterly stuck. Lost my job, leaving me to depend on his income. Lost my confidence. Was abusing my anxiety medication just to deal with his outbursts. Many friends parted ways because they couldn't watch my inevitable murder. I became a shell of myself. A month ago, he lost it again and was violent, not to the extent of the first time, but still, and put our child in danger. His family called the police after he injured my parents and began to throw furniture, smash anything glass, and did so in front of our 3-year-old. I ended up with glass lodged in my eye, but I am so very lucky to be alive. My child is lucky to be okay. That is my greatest shame. But shame will only hold me back from reaching my potential as both a person and mother. Everyone's comments were spot on. The love bombing, the amazing promises, seemingly changing his life for the better. But as predicted, that did not last. I am so embarrassed that I didn't heed so many genuine warnings sooner. My therapist describes it as battered wife syndrome, and for me to focus on all of the positive changes I am making for myself, my kids, and my career. In just a month, I feel like I've had a 1,000-pound brick lifted off of my shoulders. No more tiptoeing on eggshells. No more canceling plans because he's too drunk. No more popping Xanax to stand being alive. No more terrifying rants wondering if he would snap. No more running out of money before payday because he drank and smoked it. I am at the most dangerous part of my journey. He is realizing that I am not coming to his rescue. That I am truly done. This has caused him to really show who he was all along. A hateful, rage-filled man-child with the ability to cause severe harm. I think seeing my child in danger is what snapped me back to reality. I'm not fully out of danger until I move further away and get a lawyer to help me safely untangle our decade of dysfunction. But I have an extremely strong support system and 2 neighbors that are armed. He is not allowed near me or our son. I'm posting this because I see a lot of women posting about their wonderful partners becoming violent for the first time and not knowing what to do. Please, please let my words and those thoughtful folks that tried so desperately to warn me last year alert you to the danger you are truly in. It is never just once. Women are killed every day by men like this. I do not want sympathy. I want this to serve as warning to all the lovely women and men feeling stuck in an abusive situation. Don't fall for sunk cost fallacy, or he'll change. You can't afford to not have that secondary income, or your situation is different. The price I paid to keep a man that only held me back was higher than words can express. I will finally be my authentic self, and my children will thrive by having a happy, healthy, and safe mother and environment to grow. If my confession here saves just one person from this life, or potentially being hurt or killed, then the embarrassment and inevitable comments that will be negative are worth it. Be safe, be happy, and live a life worth living. Not just surviving. Some relevant comments. Commenter 1. I am glad you were able to leave. I also went back, more than once. I honestly believe that if I'd not left the last time he'd have killed me. You are aware you are at the most dangerous stage, but please don't underestimate this. Be safe and please update us. Reply. Did you have any shared children? My biggest worry is when he inevitably gets to see our son, although supervised. What if he harms him to get me back? This man is obsessed with me. It's not love. I realize that now. I appreciate you pointing out not to underestimate this. He truly was an involved and good dad until he was drunk and fighting with everyone around him. I cannot let my guard down by thinking of the kind of dad he was whilst sober. Commenter 2. You have such a kind and forgiving heart. You did everything, tried everything, put yourself back in harm to give him that chance. And it didn't change him. You know that, now for sure, sweetie. You don't need to check again. Please do something for us, okay? Protect your kind heart. You are going to have to get a little tougher and protect your gentle, kind, forgiving heart. Because it wasn't safe with him. So save it for yourself and your child. And your family. You are tough. Kindness isn't weak. It is so damn hopeful and unbreakable you had enough to forgive him once. So you can give yourself some forgiveness now? You got this. Please stay safe for your child. For you, for the future you deserve, reply. Oh, this hit me hard. I truly poured my soul into this relationship. Went against all instincts because I thought we could be happy. I thought I could lead him to success and happiness. I've never been one to heed warnings. Expensive lessons have been learned. It's not really about me anymore. It's about protecting my eldest. Her father died and our shared child. Thank you. How is OPSI? Reply. I work as an optometric technician and licensed optician, so luckily I had the best care possible. My eye healed completely with no scar tissue. Thank you for asking. Commenter 3. I remember your other post. I'm so glad you and your child are safe and away now. This is a good example of why every single child should be taught they should never ever go back to an abuser. Reply. I hope I can use my stories to inspire people to make better decisions. My life has had so much tragedy it doesn't seem real. I know I can make something of it all though. During my last post I was so upset this time. I was utterly numb and done. The scary part is that he's baffled that I'm not helping get him a lawyer, or get his unemployment set up, etc. I was told not to block him to keep an eye out for threats to report to police. His trial is late next month on felony domestic violence and resisting arrest. OOP on having conversations with the cops and getting therapy for her son, reply. I had 2 cops come by and sit me down last year and explain that they knew how this would end if I went back. They were so kind too. They said I was like 700% more likely to be murdered than the average partner, and asked me to think of my kids. This time, the victim's advocate basically said they knew my case, his 3rd charge, and I needed to choose my life and my son, because they knew where this was headed. I didn't even press charges. The state forced me. It was a horrible wake-up call. Like, why did I give him another chance? My son is showing some serious signs. I'm in therapy, but I'm trying to get Medicaid to get my son help. That's a long-ass story, but the latest will be January. I'm glad you got away, and thank you for sharing with me. It truly helps. Commenter 4. So twice now he's not in jail for reason? Reply. He got bailed out by his mom in an attempt to save his career. She regrets it. He lost his job anyway and was drinking as soon as he got out. He didn't bother trying to mask anything this time. Stories number 5. For telling my neighbor if her new fence is on my property, I'm going to ask she moves it. I have historically had a good relationship with my elderly neighbor. We have always been nothing but friendly with each other. We own hillside homes in Southern California, each worth about $1 million in today's market. Last week she told me she was going to fence her yard because she doesn't like the high school kids down the street trespassing. I told go for it. All I ask is keep it on your property. This week the fence was completed. She flagged me down in my driveway today and asked me what I thought of her new fence. I was honest with my concerns, and let her know the contractor installed the fence several feet to the south of the sewer grates, which I believe is several feet on my property. Per my title records, we split the easement, so I thought it should be placed on the north side of the sewer grate on her side. Fence was installed in one day, and all took place while I was at work. I had no time to pause it while they were building, or I would have said something. She kind of shrugged it off and told me she doesn't think it's placed wrong. I told her due to the expense of land in our area, I would be scheduling to have a survey done to confirm the fence is properly placed. I informed her if it was off by inches it wouldn't be a problem, but if it's discovered it's several feet on my property, I would ask it be moved. She seemed kinda surprised and irritated that I would request the fence be moved, asking if I would be willing to just live with it due to the expense. I informed her due to the small yard and expensive land in our area. I don't think that's something I would be okay with. I kindly informed her I think she should have had a survey done prior to fence placement, if this was something she was concerned about. I don't think I should donate land I pay for because of her error. TLDR, neighbor's new fence appears to be on my property. I'm getting a survey to confirm. Neighbor is upset I'm getting survey and says even if her fence is on my land, she asks, I don't make her move it. Update. Wow. I did not anticipate this one would be of any interest. Yesterday I was in contact with several survey companies. Some have sent estimates. Some said they will have one sent by Monday next week. From the two I've gotten thus far, I'm looking at about 4 or 5K. Spoke to a real estate attorney who made me feel better about the situation. He advised he has seen this many times, and it's a very straightforward case, especially when fresh. In a nutshell, if survey confirms it's on my property at all, then I notify neighbor it needs to move. He said in his experience it rarely has to see a courtroom. He additionally added it should be a red flag that I don't see any underground utilities marked prior to work starting, especially because it's on a sewer easement. He added in my city the manhole shouldn't be fenced into her yard in the event it needs servicing. With the new fence it's now enclosed in her yard. I will update when survey is done. Some companies are booked until January. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Getting a survey should have been part of her due diligence before she got the fence installed. Commenter 2. NTA. This is a common tactic to gain more real estate by neighbors. Get that survey. Commenter 3. NTA. If it is indeed several feet over the line, that needs to be moved ASAP. Heck, even more than 6, and I'd say move it. Property taxes keep going up. You're paying for land you can't access if her fence is in the wrong spot. End of story. Do not let her keep your property that you have to pay taxes on. Commenter 4. NTA. Get the survey, which is what she should have done in the first place. I have to wonder if she even got a permit for it, because in my area that's a requirement for a new fence, along with submitting line drawings to show that it will be built on the correct property. Having her fence on your property is a big problem, especially if you ever want to sell your property. Potential buyers will not want to inherit that fight. Stories number 6. I found a hidden camera pointed at where I breastfed my baby. I'm honestly kind of freaking out right now. For context, I'm a teen mom to my 7-month-old daughter. I recently started nannying again because I needed the income, and I took a job that wasn't ideal. 2 kids in my neighborhood for $16 an hour. I used to study child health and development in college before I dropped out to raise my daughter, and I've got about a year and a half of nannying experience. I found this family on CareCom, and looking back, there were so many red flags. She had no profile picture, she refused a phone interview, saying she only does in person because she can tell character better that way. She used military time for everything, so I assumed she was ex-military. She's not. And she insisted on meeting at a school, not a coffee shop or anywhere public I suggested. She was 15 minutes late and showed up in short shorts. No bra, slippers, and high socks. Not exactly the strict, polished person I expected based on her tone over text. She had 3 kids, 6F, 4F, and almost 2M. The interview actually went okay, and because she lived nearby, I accepted the job on the spot. She mentioned paying me as a 1099 contractor, which is illegal for household employees in my state. So I told her she'd either need to do under-the-table cash or a proper W-2. She chose cash, but refused to sign a contract because she didn't want paper trails. Another red flag I should have listened to. During the interview, I specifically said no secret nanny cams. She told me she only had 2 cameras, both in her kids' rooms, which I was completely fine with. But then weird comments started happening. One day, I served the kids some fruit that was already cut up in the fridge. Later, she mentioned, "You forgot to wash it." Another time, she brought up a snack I had packed for my daughter, one I never left at her house. He mentioned me wiping down her counters with a reusable towel, something she couldn't have known unless she was watching me. She also somehow knew I use voice to text because of my dyslexia, something I never told her. At that point, I assumed there was a hidden camera or mic somewhere, which was super off-putting, considering she knew I breastfed my daughter, and had specifically asked if there was any cameras. The vibe in general was off. She made really degrading comments, like saying she doesn't understand why anyone would go to college for child development, and strictly referring to me as a babysitter. She was dismissive, controlling, and constantly added new chores on top of childcare to the point that I could barely focus on the kids. Her daughter would also often say some weird and concerning things. For example, "My mom's gonna be mad, but it's okay because she won't be mad at me. The floors are really dirty. You need to sweep them." And one time she went on a minute tangent about silly, forgetful people who always forget everything after I left my lunchbox at their house overnight, along with this and some other stuff. She said I just assumed she was repeating stuff her mother had said. But today was the breaking point. My daughter wasn't feeling well, so she wanted to be held most of the day. The 2-year-old knocked over a set of picture frames on himself. The house was not at all child-friendly. The 4-year-old had multiple meltdowns, and when I tried to calm her, she started kicking and hitting me. I let the mom know I'd need to leave early, and she agreed as long as both kids were down for a nap first. While I was feeding my daughter before leaving, I noticed the Alexa was flashing green every time I spoke. I Googled it and learned that means there's a drop in basically. Someone is listening in. That's when I started looking around the room, and sure enough, I found a hidden camera tucked inside an open purse, pointed directly at the chair where I breastfeed my daughter. I froze, my stomach dropped, I grabbed my baby, packed up our stuff, and left without unloading the dishwasher a few hours later. She sent me a long text rant about clarifying expectations. Basically, she wanted me to be a maid, not a nanny, all while watching 3 kids after talking to my husband. I've decided I'm quitting immediately. I'm still shaken that someone recorded me feeding my baby without consent. I'll update once I officially quit and send her my message. But seriously, trust your gut. Commenter 1, holy shit OP. That's absolutely disgusting and definitely illegal in most places. Recording someone breastfeeding without consent is a serious crime. Like sexual exploitation level serious. Document everything you can remember and definitely file that police report ASAP. The fact that she was so sketchy about paper trails makes way more sense now. She knew exactly what she was doing. Commenter 2, okay, I'm sorry, but I keep getting hung up on the fact that these children all under 6 would be home alone after you leave, even if you put them down for a nap first, especially after you mentioned that the house is not at all child-friendly. But yeah, her recording you without your consent is unhinged and you should report it. Commenter 3, I would report to the police and CareCom. It's unbelievable that not only would she be recording you like a weirdo, but also using you as a maid when you were hired to take care of the kids. But for real, how do you know she's not selling videos of you? She sounds off the rails. Commenter 4, just FYI, yes. 1099 is the wrong classification. But you, as the employee, wouldn't get in trouble for it. The employer would get fined, but either way, getting paid under the table is actually illegal. So your legal options aren't W-2 or under the table. I don't care how you get paid. Do what you need to do to survive. I'm just letting you know so you're better informed. Also, did you leave the kids unattended? Because that's definitely illegal. Stories number 7, A for not being very strict with my daughter at my house compared to my ex-wife, which has led to my ex-wife and I exchanging some words to each other. I 43M have a daughter 16F who I have joint custody over with my ex-wife 39F. We got divorced when my daughter was a baby, and the court awarded 50-50 custody for the both of us. I will admit though, being a doctor comes with its consequences. I haven't been as present as I wish I could have been when my daughter was 13. She started telling me things that her mom does or rules that she has in place over her, and how she thinks it's unfair. I'd listen to her and advise her to talk to her mom. My daughter would then ask if she has to obey those rules over here still, to which I said no. At first, it was just small stuff that I find nitpicky. Things like not being able to eat in the living room. As she's gotten older, she started making more requests for privileges in my house. And it's pretty much gone like this. Example 1. Mom doesn't let me hang out with friends during the week. Well, that's dumb. If you have a ride there and back, you can go with your friends. Example 2. Mom doesn't let me wear comfortable clothes around the house. She says I have to dress modestly. You can walk around the house naked for all I care. Example 3. You and Mom's houses don't have locks on my bedroom door. There isn't a lock? I can call a guy out and have him put a lock in for you if you want. Example 4. Mom doesn't let me drink soda. Do you want soda? If so, I can order it with our groceries from Hy-Vee. You get the idea. I don't want to say I've become a doormat for my daughter, but I'm not nearly as stingy about rules. It's her house just as much as it's mine in my eyes. My ex-wife recently has been going off on my daughter and I about how I'm letting her get away with any and everything, and how my lack of discipline at my house is leading her to break rules at her mother's house. I told my ex-wife that she should ease up on our daughter because she's almost a damn adult and doesn't need to be treated like a toddler. My ex-wife went bananas over the phone with me, and at her house, she went off on my daughter for being an undisciplined brat. My ex-wife is threatening to take me to court for custody if I don't straighten up my act. And I told her she kissed my ass. It has me wondering though, am I being an asshole to my ex-wife? Is this bad dad behavior? I want my daughter to feel safe, comfortable, and happy. And I want to believe I'm doing that. If I am being an asshole to my ex-wife, what do I do? Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. The clothes and the door lock concern me. Is your ex remarried? Other kids in the house? Policing what she wears at home and calling it modest makes it seem like your child is some sort of sexual object and not a kid. Then the lock. It really sounds like she wants to keep people out. You should ask her about that more in depth. The other things some people are more strict on than others. Your ex cannot control what happens in your house. Whether she likes it or not, you are an equal parent. Reply, now that you mentioned the lock thing, that does seem concerning. I just passed it off as she wants her own privacy and left it as that. Before my daughter mentioned it, I didn't even know the door didn't have a lock. Commenter 1 reply, it very well could be that she's 16 and wants privacy. Most 16-year-olds do. It just was interesting to me that she felt the need to ask for a lock. I also haven't been in many homes that don't have locks on the bedroom doors. It could be the house doesn't have them or that your ex took them. I just brought it up because I think asking her would not only validate her but open it up for discussion if something weird was happening. Commenter 2, let her take you to court and then say your daughter is 16 and she is old enough to decide in mediation. So your daughter can speak to the mediator. They will ask her who she wants to live with. Commenter 3 NTA, I'm here thinking you're letting her run wild or something with saying you're not strict. Your daughter can't have a lock. Well, that's some real extreme behavior on your ex's part, and a surefire way for your daughter to move in with you. Let her take you to court and tell the judge how you're such a bad parent that you let your daughter maintain a modicum of control over her privacy and how she dresses. As long as your daughter does well in school and isn't getting into trouble, you're fine. Don't try to be the Disney dad, but be reasonable and make sure she's growing into a healthy young adult. Reply, I do enforce other rules, such as she needs to have all her homework done before going out with friends. I need to see her report cards, she needs to do her chores, etc., etc. She doesn't fight me over them, and does them usually without me asking, so she's very responsible. Commenter 4. Strict parents make sneaky kids. Your daughter will feel safe coming to you about issues and won't with her mom. You're letting her have a normal teen experience and learn things instead of making her learn how to do everything like independence and socialization as an adult. Not only that, but she only has a few years before she's an adult and has to worry about bills and jobs. She should be allowed to enjoy the freedom that comes with being an older teen. You're a good dad. Also, 1, your daughter's old enough that a judge will take her wishes to account. 2, I wouldn't react emotionally to your ex-wife anymore. From now on, tell her she does what she wishes at her house and you do what you wish at yours. Your daughter's not in danger, and just because she doesn't agree with how you parent doesn't mean it's wrong. Unless your daughter is in danger or being abused, then there's nothing either of y'all can do. And letting her hang out at her friend's house and stay up late is not danger. 3, as long as her grades are maintained. She's safe. She's home at a reasonable hour. And not doing illegal stuff. The judge isn't going to say anything about how you parent. Stories number 8. My 8-year-old son hates me, and I don't understand why. I used to believe that your relationship with your children was a given. To clarify, I believed that as long as you treated your children with love, they were guaranteed to love you back, and that the most you had to worry about if you did the right things was some kind of terrible illness or accident that ended them early. I'm here today to warn you that's not true. There are worse possible outcomes. My son is 8 years old, and I cannot be in the same room as him without being attacked. He will scratch, hit, and bite me constantly until we are separated. He bites as hard as he can. My arms are 50% bruises right now from partially healed wounds. I have done nothing to deserve this. And I've tried everything to reach him. I've tried love, discipline, ignoring him, reasoning. Nothing sticks, and as the years have gone on, it's only gotten worse. He's already in therapy. We've already tried to get him diagnosed with something. We've tried meds. We've tried no meds. We don't know what's going on, nor does his therapist or doctors. On Thursday, I watched a movie. About time, very bittersweet movie about how time is limited, and we need to enjoy it best we can. There's a scene where a boy of about 8 is playing on the beach with his father for the last time. Enjoying one last beautiful day together. I absolutely lost it. My son only communicates with me through violence. Last night, I finally gave up. I cried for hours and let go of any expectation I had of having a loving relationship with him. He's 8 years old and hates my guts. There are worse outcomes than outliving your children. Please don't take your loved ones for granted. Edit, thank you to everyone for the advice. Special shout out to the super weirdo anti-catalysts, particularly the feminist who made super sure to tell me she was a feminist before telling me to have a post-birth abortion. No single comment made me realize how ahead of the game I am as a parent than that one. We are getting a second psych evaluation soon, so I'll write a second post with results of that. Many of you are absolutely convinced someone else is abusing him, and are unwilling to accept evidence to the contrary. There is no sign of anyone in his life abusing him. Nor is there much opportunity. When he's not at school, he's with us, save for a few rare occasions where we get a trusted, close family babysitter to go on a date. We've asked him if anyone is hurting him or touching him, and he has said no. And we make sure both our kids understand what's inappropriate, and know they should tell us if anyone tries anything like that. This is the least likely possibility. Edit. I've created a follow-up post for those who are interested. Consensus. The comments are helpful. They tell OOP to film his son's outbursts and to keep pushing for a diagnosis. Comments. Commenter. If son is aggressive with other people or animals. No other signs of violence? Yes, treats me this way in front of his mom. What they do if son attacks, we've tried different things. If I'm trying to reason with him or talk to him, she will wait to see how it goes. Super weird trying to be compassionate with someone attacking you. If she notices him coming, and it's not one of those moments, she will just step right in and intervene, typically sending him to his room and talking with him. Unless we've decided we've tried enough talking for the day. These days I stay out of it and let her do the discipline. I haven't given up hope, just the expectation. We'll certainly still go to the end of the earth for him, to make sure the daughter doesn't get ignored because of son. We think of her often and make sure she's safe, and understand her brother needs help, and we will get it for him. About sister's reaction, she is 5. She will comfort me almost daily. Honestly, I don't care what she does when he's acting up. I'm focused on not bleeding. He was 5 when it started. At first it was just throwing things at walls. Then there was a time where he just hated me but wasn't attacking me. Now it's directed at me rather than the walls. I'm not sure we are quite ready for inpatient treatment, but that's starting to enter the conversation. If I try to talk to him, I will get attacked. If I exist in the same room as him for more than a few minutes, he will either leave or attack me. To get son into inpatient, I think getting additional PACE evaluation comes before resorting to inpatient. We've already known he has something other than ADHD, but we haven't been able to convince his psych to keep digging. We are AL searching for a new one. If that fails, then I think we will go to inpatient to send son away for a day or 2 per week. Thanks. We aren't at this stage yet, but it's not off the table. I am trying to not lose patience or exhibit any favoritism, and just hope that one day when we'll grow out of it, or that we will get the correct diagnosis. Yes, he is fine around other men, nothing abnormal. He has play dates with other kids, nothing abnormal. I've noticed a lot of anxiety. He doesn't like to watch movies if there is anything scary at all. Disney movies are typically too much for him. I suspect he's on the spectrum, and I'm concerned he has ODD defiant disorder. I've known he wasn't neurotypical since he was about 3, but the specifics of how elude us, if they checked if physically is everything okay with son. Maybe that's the one thing I haven't tried. But I can't imagine a brain tumor would lead only to violence against a specific person and have no other. I'll effects seems unlikely. OP. What age did this start? Does he physically attack anyone else besides you? Does he attack you when you are alone? When you are with family? And when you are in public? Do the two of you ever have normal interactions? Morning, midday, or night? For example, if you were driving somewhere in a car, would he literally be attacking you while you were driving? Has he seen a psychiatrist or psychologist? Reply 5-2, no 3, yes, no 4. Normal interactions are very rare. It's been months. He will attack me while driving, typically throwing things at me. We've told him it's dangerous and can cause an accident. And then we did get in an accident over the summer and he stopped. The accident was the other driver's fault, not my son's 5. Yes, update. Hello. Some of you folks asked for an update when I first posted, including some who seem to feel lost in a similar situation. I'd like to thank the insane people on my last post who told me to give up on my son. The laughs were therapeutic. And also, please never have kids of your own. We took him to get evaluated again, as it was pretty clear what we were dealing with was more than just ADHD. It took us a while to find a place we thought would do it right this time. Then it took some more time to get a slot. But today we got the official diagnosis. He has the ADHD and a severe version of it. But he's also mildly autistic. On top of this, he has high anxiety and signs of depression. Some of you were suggesting pandas and ODD, and he does seem to have some of those symptoms. But like the autism, there are things about him that don't fit those diagnoses. There are things about him that aren't typical of autism. For instance, he loves being social. These inconsistencies and the fact he was younger and had severe ADHD, which masked the autism, made an autism diagnosis difficult at that time. So why does he hate me? As best I understand it so far, this is what happened. When he was halfway into kindergarten is when it started. His disabilities caused him to struggle as compared to his peers, which led to feelings of inadequacy. Being 5, he didn't have the tools to handle that, so he began coming home from school and destroying the house as a way to express his feelings. We would try to reason with him patiently, but he wouldn't hear it. We tried many other ways of helping him. But the house was getting destroyed, and the only thing that would head him to stop would be sharp, loud commands from my scary male voice, "Stop that!" So that's what I would do every time he started acting up, because that's what worked. What I was doing, though I didn't know it, was using his anxiety to scare him into behaving better. As time went on and I continued this, I became this scary figure in his life to be feared. The anxiety built until it became a complicated hate. So where are we now? He doesn't attack me on sight, usually, which is an improvement. But when I come home from work, he often wants to be alone in his room now. When we go out in public, things are better. But at home, the anxiety he attaches to me is still present. Though not as intense. How did I fix it? First, I stayed away. I let things chill out for a few weeks. And when he would attack me, instead of getting angry and punishing him, defending myself by shoving him off me, I remained calm and had my wife correct him instead. Then I decided I needed to talk to him about all this. I knew that going to his room meant immediate bleeding on my part. So I would armor up in a winter coat and gloves, enter his room, and calmly fend his attacks off. It would end with me restraining him on the floor and just taking to him about his behavior, and why it led to my behavior, and why I never meant to be scary, but I had to be scary to stop the madness. This had a little bit of a positive effect, but it took a long time. I did this routine for weeks without much progress. He would attack me. I would restrain him. I would talk and ask him to open up, and he would be silent. Then I finally found something that clicked. I told him I loved him and always would, and that I thought he was a special and talented kid, and that I would always be proud of him. He cried in my arms and got angry and wanted me to stop, but I pushed through. So then for a couple weeks I kept letting him know that, and over time his reaction to it became normalized, which is how I knew he really believed and understood it. Now we have a routine I call Daddy Therapy Time, and when I come in his room and say, "Let's talk," he gets straight like a pencil on his bed and I kinda compress him into the bed, and his head hangs off, which he likes for some reason. He's been opening up gradually and actually talking instead of just me talking. Some days are still hard, he still takes everything out on me, but that's okay. Better me than anyone else. That's my job. I still get bit and scratched, but less often now. And I think things will continue to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. For you overwhelmed parents out there, keep trying. There's hope. New update. Hey folks, I was inspired to give you an update because 2 things have happened recently. No more outbursts. No more biting or attacking me. No more throwing things at the walls. As a result, we've repainted and put the decorations back up. He made some art at school of what he loves the most, and I made the cut with his mom. Things have been great lately, back to relative normal. I think I mentioned this, but he has ADHD. Mild autism, mild ODD, high anxiety, mild depression. This made parenting tricky since negative behavior correction triggered his ODD. But positive correction was also something he hates. We still do the daddy therapy time, but not daily, only as needed. When I need to correct behavior, I press him into his bed or the couch and tell him what he did wrong and what to do instead. He only takes it well using this method. We started sending him to neurotherapy, which is something where they put electrodes on his head and have him do tasks. It sounded like crazy woo-woo sci-fi stuff to me, but I swear it's working. When his therapist went on vacation for 2 weeks, we noticed a difference. IDK how long we will be able to afford to do it with the way the economy is going, but hopefully as long as he needs. I've been doing Cub Scouts with him one-on-one, which has helped restore our own relationship. Forcing the one-on-one time with me was important to get things to start to turn around. To those of you with similar struggles, hang in there. I'll comment with a picture that I think is really neat, if I can figure out how. Stories number 9. IF30 just got a "Hey girl" text and been told my husband M31 has been cheating on me 2 weeks after our marriage. I'm devastated. What am I even supposed to do? I'm out of town and got a follow request both on FB and Instagram from a girl. I get a few of these regularly, but with that one, I somehow had some weird gut feeling and started to shake. Instead of accepting her request, I messaged her if we know each other, to which she replied, "We don't," and she gets it might be awkward, but she would like to discuss something with me in person ASAP, since I'm out of town and she is a complete stranger. I said let's discuss online, and she said it's about my husband. I immediately knew that the worst is coming. She said that he is cheating on me and I deserve better. Said that it's not continuing anymore as he broke up with her today. However, She told me it started few months ago when they met online at first, and then met in person. She knew he was married. He told her. She was asking why is he cheating and why he got married in the place, to which he replied that he felt pressure from the others. We've kinda been together for 10 years when he proposed, and that marriage is just a big expensive party, and nothing more than a piece of paper. Then I asked her why they broke up then, and she told me because he is basically happy in our relationship, and he doesn't want to risk it anymore. She said he was visiting her at her place when I was coming late from work, and even had sleepovers when I was out of town. I told her not to tell him that I know, and I'm about to confront him in person once I'm back home. We've been married for 5 months, he basically started to cheat right after, still telling me loves me etc. I feel so betrayed. I thought I found my person, and now it's all gone, and I feel like I'm getting back to square one in life. I told him I want to start a family next year. I have no idea what to do after I tell him I know everything. I can't even cry. Just have this hollow in my chest and feeling numbness. I also have no idea why she told me now and not sooner. Edit, as I'm not sure if you can find this comment. Thanks everyone for your comments, support, and kind words. This is my first post, so I'm not even sure if I should add this as an edit part, or if you're gonna see this comment either way. I was wide awake whole night, reading everything. Chatting with some of you in DMs, I already had a scheduled message for her, saying that I was thinking of you told me yesterday, and the only thing I'm missing in all this is an evidence, as it's a big accusation and words against words. However, I decided not to send it yet. Firstly, at the moment, I'm not able to handle seeing any proof evidence with my own eyes. I just can't face this yet, and I don't want to know detail. I never wanted her to reach out to me and throw her burden on me instead of carrying it herself. Secondly, I know my husband to some point at least. Believe it or not, he is kinda sensitive and caring person. I know once I drop it even without evidence, he ain't gonna gaslight me, and he will admit, if he would be saying it's not true, then I will demand to show me his stuff or I reach out to her. But talking to her brings me anger and anxiety at this point. He will be asking me how my weekend at my parents' was. I will tell him I met some childhood friends and actually made a new friend, and that he wouldn't believe what happened to her. She found a married guy she was supposed to spend her weekend with when his wife was traveling. But he broke up with her instead, so she decided to tell his wife, plot twist, you're the guy. I'm the wife, and my friend is name of the girl who reached out to me. Then I will wait for him to process, and I'll start to have a conversation. We know each other since my 16 and his 17. I considered this man my best friend. I was just rereading the vow he wrote me, and thinking of past few months how there was nothing wrong basically. He didn't give me any bigger clue to worry about anything. He even bought me flowers last week just like that. I don't know what I'll do yet. It's also up to him, and how he approaches this whole situation. I know that to majority of you I will look like a naive and stupid, not learning my lesson. But for me the marriage is something so sacred, and something I wanted with him since the day one, that is difficult for me to let it go without trying any counseling. Maybe the end is inevitable, and I'm just prolonging something that will come, but I can't see myself making any decision in this state of mind. Once again, thank you everyone. You are such a great people, and I'm sorry if you had to go through something like that yourself. No one deserves this kind of betrayal. I will let you know how it went once I talk to him tomorrow evening. So far I'm playing everything is okay card so he has no suspicions. Edit, I have a therapy session booked on Monday evening. Edit 2, she just reached out to me that if I want we can still meet in person, and she can show me conversations they had that what I saw in a pop-up window, as she texted on Instagram again, and I didn't open the message yet. Comments. Commenter 1, I don't care why she told you. But she told you. Make sure there's proof before you confront him. Get screenshots from her with his phone number. Ask her to give details. More info than could be found by just talking to your husband casually. There are crazy people out there. Trust but verify. Commenter 2. She told you now because she's pissed at him for not choosing her. She's hoping you leave him so he'll go back to her. She knew about you the whole time. Has she sent you proof as you'll need it when you confront him? Otherwise he'll just lie and say she made it all up to get back at him for blah blah blah. Reply, I actually don't have any proof, but they definitely know each other because she wrote me. She knew I was out of town as he was supposed to meet her today but ended it instead. She told that he told her cheated on me in the past. 8 years ago, we just had a most perfect honeymoon in summer. I take care of many things at home. I cook, I clean. I initiate sex now. I know why he wasn't that much meeting me halfway as he was getting that elsewhere most likely. I work out to be in a shape, work in IT field so I'm financially independent. We also laugh a lot together and have common interests. I don't understand what went wrong. Even now he's sending me hearts in chat like nothing is wrong. Commenter 2 reply. While she's still angry at him, tell her you don't believe her unless there's proof. Then she might send you something. You really need it, otherwise he'll just gaslight you. He can just say he chatted to her online and told her those things. Commenter 2 reply. And just remember, she doesn't have your best interests at heart. She's doing it for purely selfish reasons, so be careful. Just get some proof and then stop talking to her. Reply. I know at the same time the thought of seeing the evidence is killing me, as it then will be real. Now there is still, while almost zero chance it didn't happen. But after I see some of their texts, etc., I'll be even more traumatized. Thank you for your support and kind words. Commenter 3, proof before action. Don't tell him immediately. And instead, ask the lady for as much proof as you can get. And remember, in this day and age, people can fake a lot of proof. If you see phone calls and texts, then see if you can access your partner's phone info to see if it matches the timeline. Even if they do match, maybe it's innocent and or work-related. Get pictures and document everything you can, and if you get enough proof, then kindly, calmly ask him and see if it's all a misunderstanding. If not, then grill him and dump the cheater. Once they cross the line, they will realize how easy it is to do so in the future. Find a better partner. Don't attack him online or threaten him in a way that could make him lose his job or livelihood. But don't let him control the narrative, and tell your friends and family and tell his family so he can't burn you to them beforehand. Show your proof like texts and chat logs or PG-13 pics online, but don't name him outright so that your friends and family know who you are talking about. Commenter 4, just to play devil's advocate here. Please make sure you have proof and you are 1000% sure before confronting him. She could know him from work or some other place and have always had a thing for him, and he is turned down. By stalking someone, it's easy to find out their movements. There are some real crazies out there, and to be honest, I hope this is the case. But in the meantime, I hope your acting skills are up to par, as you could do your own investigating. Check his phone bill, and if it is all true, make him pay. Stories number 10. My 24 boyfriend 31M got trashed at a wedding where I was the MOH. Embarrassed me and himself, proceeded to lie about some things too. About a year and a half ago, my best friend became engaged to her now husband. I was asked to be the maid of honor, and was extremely happy to do so. Over the past year, I helped her with whatever needed to be done. Throughout all of this, I talked to my boyfriend about it. He knew how happy I was for her. He knew that I had a big part in the wedding. He knew my parents would be attending the wedding. He knew everything that I knew about the wedding. He knew the day and time, and what would be expected of him, and when he needed to show up. F2EIW, I didn't talk his ear off about the wedding. I would only really talk about it if I had gone, for example, dress shopping or something with my friend. However, last week, a couple days before the wedding, he started to act kinda weird about it. He said something along the lines of, I know you don't want to be involved in the wedding. It will be over soon, and then you can forget all about it and everything will be normal again. I've been nothing but happy and excited for my friend and this wedding. But he continued to act like I wasn't having fun and tried to convince me that I hated every minute of helping my friend plan her wedding. Last week he continued talking about the wedding like it was something awful and stupid. He treated it as an annoying chore we had to do. He complained about having to go. He even asked me after the rehearsal dinner if he could just not go to the wedding at all. Keep in mind I had already RSVP'd for both of us. My parents were expecting him. He just dropped that on me as we were going to bed before the wedding day. He also never expressed his congratulations towards the bride or groom at any point. The day of the wedding was this past Saturday. I told my boyfriend what time he needed to show up. Lately, he has been notoriously late for everything. Like several hours late to anything he's invited to. He's always been late. But it's been getting ridiculous. A lot of times he's late because he is hanging out with his friends smoking weed and playing video games, and he ends up losing track of time. I didn't want him to be late to my best friend's wedding, so I basically told him he needed to be there 3 hours earlier than what was necessary. I told him he needed to be there at 1 p.m., when in reality he needed to be there before 4:30 p.m. He showed up around 4:30 p.m. He got there right as cocktail hour started and got drunk. I was told by someone else that he was pounding back the beers as soon as the bartender started to serve alcohol. Then he sat with my parents and told my mom, if I didn't come to this thing, OP would have killed me. Once the bride and groom were announced, Mr. and Mrs. X, my boyfriend loudly cheered and loudly clapped as everyone else did a normal clap. It wasn't a very big wedding, so it was weird and awkward when he did this. It stood out a lot and obvious that he was already inebriated. Multiple people looked over at him in a WTF way. I felt awful and embarrassed when this happened. After all the photos were taken, he found me and told me that his work called, and that he needed to go in ASAP. Before the wedding, he assured me that he had taken the day off, and that his work, he's a bartender, knew he would be at a wedding that day. I knew he was lying to me, but I didn't care at that point. He left Ubered to supposedly go to work. When I finally got home around 2 a.m., he told me that it turned out that work didn't actually need him, and he forgot the name of the venue so he couldn't Uber back to it, and that his phone was acting weird and couldn't get a text message to be sent to me. He told me how he really wanted to come back to the reception, but he just couldn't make it happen. Obviously, those were all lies. I feel like his behavior was just abhorrent. I'm so pissed off at him right now. I'm looking at him in a new negative light, and I can't stop thinking about how awful he was throughout this whole wedding event. I know some people act weird about weddings sometimes, but this takes the fucking cake. Is there any coming back from this? I feel like I'm always going to be pissed off about what happened. I don't know if I can forgive him. I've thought about ending it with him because of this. I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. I don't think he has any intentions on apologizing. We haven't talked about the wedding that much since this past Saturday. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong. What do I do? Am I crazy to think his actions are god-awful? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Girl. He sounds like a toddler. You're a girlfriend, not a mother. Why are you putting up with this? Reply. Honestly, I don't know. We've been together for about 4 years now, and he wasn't always this bad. But I've noticed his behavior has gone downhill over the past year. He's cut back hours on work and makes just enough money to make ends meet. He just wants to hang out with his friends who don't have jobs. He smokes for free with them. I think this may be the last straw, though. I'm going to have to end it with him. It just sucks, because he wasn't always this bad. Commenter 2, consider that he was always like this. But you're growing up and maturing, whereas he hasn't. 4 years puts you guys at 27 and 20. Might be that you just didn't notice BC you had different priorities. Reply. This is a strong possibility. When we met I was in college, and like a lot of college students I went out partied a lot. I had fun and stayed up super late, but now I'm working full-time and going to grad school part-time. I want to be successful in the future. He has basically stayed the same these past 4 years. He always talked about going back to school and finishing his degree or doing something else with his life. He just hasn't done anything with himself. I don't think I really saw that or cared when we met, and I was only 20. Commenter 3, how long have you been dating? Have you two discussed marriage? His behavior was horrendous. I don't know if I would forgive it. My guess is that he saw you all happy about the wedding, doesn't want to commit, got scared you would now expect a proposal, and deliberately sabotaged everything because he is a giant, immature douche canoe. Reply. We've been together for about 4 years. We have talked about marriage. He has brought up in the past and mentioned that it would be great if we got married one day. I've told him I wanted to wait until after I finished grad school and we moved into a house first. However, I am rethinking our entire relationship now. After reading a few responses here, I feel like I probably won't be able to forgive him after this. Commenter 4, what is he benefit of staying with this guy? He sounds awful. I was really surprised to see that he is my age, and not also in his early 20s. My boyfriend hates weddings and big parties and a lot of traditions. Lol, but he just lets me know. He has GAD, so I get it. We have agreements about which ones are mandatory and which he can skip. He doesn't pull weird manipulations like this. I don't think I could be with someone who jerked me around and lied like that. And he is 31 years old. That is too old for this shit, IMO. How do you guys even communicate? Mutual affection and respect? My advice is to cut your losses. It will hurt. But I bet you will feel relieved after a while of not having this anchor around your neck. Find someone worth it. Reply. This was the first time he pulled this much shit to get out of an obligation. Before now, he has been okay going with me to various friend or family events. This also wasn't our first wedding together either. His aunt got remarried last year and he didn't freak out then. In the past, he's told me straight up if he didn't want to go to one of my friends' parties or something. And he stayed at home and it was fine. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like it did. I was wanting to create a throwaway account so my post wouldn't be that noticeable. Oh well. My boyfriend uses Reddit, but I don't think he goes to the relationship subreddits at all. Anyway, I've tried most of the comments here and I've been thinking about what you all have said. It's basically confirmed that I need to end things with him. I actually tried to end things with him a couple of hours ago. He doesn't seem to be accepting the breakup. He started to apologize to me about what happened and how he'll try to be better. I'm currently at a friend's house for the night. I brought some things with me that should last a couple of days, but I'm really not sure what else to do. Both of our names are on the lease, and he's still at the apartment for all I know. Thank you for all the help. Reading through the comments basically told me everything I already knew and confirmed for me that I need to dump his ass. I'll try to post an update in a couple of days. As of now, he doesn't seem to want to leave the apartment. So we'll see what happens. Update first. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. It gave me a lot of think about and confirmed things for me that I wasn't ready to admit to myself. Second, there were some frequent comments about my ex I wanted to clear up. Some people thought he had anxiety around weddings, or people he didn't know. He knew the bride and groom very well, as we used to go out on double dates a lot. He's even spent someone on one time with the groom. He knew a lot of other people at the wedding. He only sat with my parents BC. My parents didn't really know anyone else besides the bride and a couple of my other friends who were bridesmaids or were part of the wedding in some way. He is a social butterfly and has been to more weddings than me. He's even gone solo to a couple of weddings he was invited to no +1 for former co-workers while we were together. Many people suggested he had a crush on the bride. I can't confirm this, but I'm leaning towards no. It's possible, of course. Doesn't matter at this point. All I can really say is they are complete opposites, have very little in common, and he would consider her not his type. This is not an insult to the bride. She is a beautiful person, FYW, and I am considered his type. Again, he may have had feelings for her. But if he did, I never picked up on it. After I initially tried to end it with him, he texted, called, DM'd me, and basically used any means of communication possible to get my attention. He started by apologizing profusely and asking to give him another chance. I didn't respond to all of this because I didn't know what to say. I turned off my phone before I went to sleep and woke up with a fuck ton of voicemail and messages. He sounded extremely angry in some of them, called me names, told me he hated me, said the classic line of, "You'll never do better than me." Some of the last messages he sent were him apologizing for the messages he left throughout the night because he was drunk, and that it didn't count. Whatever. The apartment issue has been a nightmare. It's going to be extremely expensive to get out of the lease and only have his name in it. Apparently they need both of our signatures in order for this to happen, and I'll need to pay a fee. The only communication I've had with my ex is to ask him to sign the new leasing agreement, which he refuses to do. I still had to pay rent for March. The lease isn't up for several more months. I can't afford to pay 2 rents at once. I did manage to get my stuff out. I called up the bar he works for and talked to one of the women there I felt comfortable with. I told her my situation and asked if she could call me the next time he showed up for his shift so I could get my things. I had a bunch of my friends come to the apartment with boxes and plastic tubs and got most of my stuff. Unfortunately, my TV, it's huge. Sofa and a couple of other larger things couldn't be grabbed. But I got everything important. When he found out, I took all of my stuff. The text messages and voicemail began again, where he spewed more vitriol at me and demanding me to come home immediately. The next, he started sending me apology messages, and also told me in a message that he's willing to forgive me and move on from this mess. My current challenges are trying to find a place to live for the next few months, and what to do about the current lease with both our names. I have friends that understand my situation, and are allowing me to couch surf for a bit, but it's not a permanent solution. I'm still trying to figure out how to get out this lease, but the apartment management has been difficult. I'm not totally convinced that they need both signatures, but that's what they keep stressing. The worst-case scenario is that I have to quit my job and live with my parents for a bit. They are an hour away and drive an hour to class a few times a week until the semester is over. TLDR, we are broken up and I'm feeling great about this decision. Apartment management sucks and I can't get my name of the lease. Some of my stuff is still in the apartment, but I got the important stuff out. X keeps messaging me. He's either being a dick or apologizing. Stories number 11. AIT for ruining my sister's wedding and apparently seducing her husband. I'm 25 F Anastasia and I got married to the love of my life, 28 M. Elijah 3 years ago. He's usually very stern and serious around other people and has a really hard time opening up. Elijah had been in the same friend group as my sister in high school, but it was a huge group, and they did not interact much, which I'm aware of, as she would only go hang out with 3 to 4 people at the time. My sister 29F became very conservative after high school for no particular reason, and when I got engaged, was constantly arguing with me on how inconsiderate I was to get married before her. Though I won't hate her as it was a family tradition for the eldest to get married first. But I really wanted to marry Elijah. My sister throughout childhood has always berated me for being into my looks. I can understand that as I used to apply some makeup every morning before high school and loved clothes and shopping. But it came to blows when I finished high school with high grades, and she accused me of seducing a teacher for that. This has been a recurring theme in my life, but I can see her view as she perceives me as shallow. Little context, Elijah and I met at a fundraiser from his company, and by that point, him and my sister were not in touch at all, and I did not know him. He was quite serious but amazing. He did not care I loved partying, and even that I did summers as an aerial dancer. He used to bring me large bouquets and takeout every night for the first month of our relationship, and when he proposed my sister kept insisting that he get a prenup, which I wouldn't have cared about as I understood he owned a pretty decent assets, whilst I was working in sales and my side fun jobs. Elijah told her to fuck off, which caused a fight between me and him, and later resolved. Anyways, this year she got engaged to a guy, Nico 38M. They have a 9-year age gap, but I think it doesn't matter as she's 29. Nico, like her, is also very conservative, and whenever I post stories of me and Elijah going to clubs, which we often do together, my sister always says she would not disrespect Nico like that ever. Like, whatever. Nico and I have only met in passing a few times. He's decent looking but too old for me, and Elijah is very serious and quiet around other people. So he never comments on Nico. I usually get into fights quick, especially when Nico discusses the role of a woman, purity culture, and how I didn't invest in my marriage as I partied. Elijah usually says a few words to shut the argument, and we both don't pay mind to it at home. 2 weeks ago was the engagement party for my sister and Nico. I'm a bridesmaid, and my sister began rattling a list of what to do. She told me to dye my hair, which has been light blonde since I was a kid, and I loved it. She told me to not stand in any pictures during the wedding, and when I questioned it, she said I knew I was pretty, and that's the only thing about me. I got angry and said I won't be your bridesmaid. However, after consolation from our parents, I reluctantly agreed, except to her bizarre conditions. The following days, I was mostly at her and Nico's apartment helping her finalize details and such. Nico didn't have much opinions as he thought it was girlish and childish, but WTV. I must have mentioned that Elijah was out of country on a business trip, and the shocker came 8 days ago, when Nico came to my house uninvited. I was still cordial and offered water and stuff, and then Nico said he wanted to invite me to his bachelor trip. I was confused and asked if he meant Elijah, but he said no. You should come since you're such a party girl. You'd like my friends, they like girls like you. This floored me. It was so absurd. I told him I'm married to Elijah, who I love, and am more than just a party girl or entertainer. And for him to say that in a demeaning manner is horrible. I told him to leave, and then I left my sister a voicemail telling her everything, and she didn't reply to anything. I called Elijah after casually telling him what Nico said, and Elijah didn't say much. But the next night he was home, even though the trip was for 3 more days. Elijah said he doesn't want me going to the wedding, which even I considered. 4 days ago, at a family potluck with a few people only, I went so I could see my sister and get a reply or anything. The minute I entered, everyone looked at me weird, and my sister began shouting. My mother said that inviting Nico to the house and wearing slutty clothes to seduce him was horrible. Obliviously, I was puzzled. I said he was not invited. And yes, I roamed around in a long t-shirt and underwear, but when I saw him, I put on shorts, which is beside the point. I told them what Nico had said, and they all said I was in the wrong for seducing him, and how he's an almost 40-year-old guy, and he would know better. After this, I came home to Elijah, who got really angry, and the next day, without my knowledge, he texted me that he was getting drinks after work, which was fine, but 4 hours in, I got a frantic call from my sister about how Elijah was punching Nico at a bar, as apparently Nico had a picture of me changing, probably when I thought no one was watching, when I helped my sister as a bridesmaid. This disturbed me a lot and made me very uneasy. Elijah basically said no way in hell we're going to the wedding, and my entire family thinks I ruined the wedding and seduced Nico, because I was clearly trying to suggest stuff. Now I'm questioning if I was unknowingly. Ada? Comments. Commenter 1, make a police report. Taking pictures of you half naked without your consent is a crime. Cut off your toxic family. Commenter 2, your sister is marrying a man who essentially thought he and his friends were going to be able to fuck you. She's a shithead for thinking her soon-to-be husband is ever going to respect her. You didn't seduce her husband. He thought because you and your husband aren't uptight and frigid, it meant you were open to fucking him. Commenter 3, wow. If what you're saying is true, That Nico guy is very weird and your sister is too. I would not go to the wedding. Doesn't seem like you did anything wrong. Those are the type of family members I wouldn't talk to or interact with and probably block on socials indefinitely. Commenter 4, your sister is a shithead. Your life moves on your timeline, not hers. End of discussion. You got married first? Oh well, boo-hoo. I don't know why people even entertain this nonsense. Should have told her to kiss your ass. Stories number 12. He crashed my car and my parents won't let me use theirs. I'm 22 and still live at home while I finish college. I've been working part-time at a cafe, saving up for grad school, and generally minding my own business. My parents, Paul and Denise, are middle class. Hard-working people who taught me the value of responsibility pretty early on. I've always tried to do right by them. Even though our household tends to run on their rules more than mine, a few months ago, I finally bought my own car. A used 2016 Honda Civic. It wasn't much, but I paid for it entirely myself. That car was my first real taste of independence. I drove to school, to work, to hang out with friends. I even named it Milo. I washed it every weekend. It was mine. Then, about a month ago, my dad asked to borrow it. It was a Saturday morning, and I was getting ready for a shift at the cafe when my dad came into my room holding his keys. He said his car wouldn't start, and he needed to get to his friend's shop to pick up some lumber for a project. He promised he'd be back in an hour, 2 tops. I hesitated, but I've always had trouble saying no to him. So I handed him my keys. 2 hours passed, then 3. Then I got a call. It was my mom, her voice shaking. Sweetheart, your dad's okay, but there's been an accident. My stomach dropped. I asked if he was hurt. She said no. But my car, well, that was a different story. Apparently, he'd taken a turn too fast in the rain, lost control and slid into a stop sign. Airbags went off. The front end was crushed like an accordion. My little Civic was totaled. When I saw it later at the impound lot, I cried. It was stupid. It's just a car, right? But that car meant so much more to me than transportation. It was proof that I could stand on my own 2 feet. My dad apologized at first. He even hugged me and said, "I'll make this right, kiddo." But that was before insurance got involved. Turns out the policy was in my name. I only had liability coverage since it was all I could afford. His accident didn't qualify for any payout, so now I was out of a car and a huge chunk of savings. When I asked if he'd help pay for repairs or another car, things got tense. He told me money was tight right now, and that it's just bad luck. My mom chimed in that I shouldn't have let him take the car if it was such a big deal. That comment burned. I didn't want to start a war, so I dropped it. For the moment, a week later, my mom started letting my dad use her car to get to work. But when I asked if I could borrow it to go to school or pick up extra shifts, they both said no. Their reasoning? You're the youngest. You can manage without a car for a while. I was floored. My dad wrecks my car, and somehow I'm the one walking to work in 90-degree heat while he drives around like nothing happened. I've tried to talk to them calmly, but every time I do, it turns into an argument. My dad gets defensive. "What, you think I did it on purpose?" And my mom jumps in with, "You need to stop holding grudges. Your father feels bad enough, but he doesn't act like he feels bad. He hasn't offered to pay a cent. He just shrugs and says, cars are replaceable, sure. Maybe to him they are. Last weekend, I overheard him talking to a neighbor about how kids today don't understand that life happens. He laughed about the crash like it was no big deal, saying, at least it wasn't my truck, that was it. That was the moment I lost all composure. I confronted him later that night. I told him that I'd worked hard for that car, that it wasn't just some toy. I said it wasn't fair that I was the one paying the price for his mistake. He just shook his head and told me to watch my tone. We didn't speak for days after that. Now, things are icy at home. I've been taking the bus to work and class, which adds an extra 2 hours to my day. My dad still drives my mom's car. My mom still tells me to let it go, but I can't. Not yet. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I feel betrayed. My dad has always been the man of integrity type. The guy who lectures about accountability and honesty. Yet here he is, dodging responsibility because it's inconvenient. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I don't want to cut him off. He's my dad. But I also can't keep pretending everything's fine when he wrecked something I poured my heart and money into. The weirdest part? I think he genuinely doesn't see how wrong this is. Like in his mind, accidents just happen, and money is too tight to waste fixing something that isn't essential. But for me, it was essential. I guess what I'm really struggling with is this. How do you forgive someone who doesn't even think they did anything wrong? Because right now, I feel like I lost more than just a car. I lost respect for someone I used to look up to. It's been a few weeks since I posted, and a lot has happened. Though not in the way I expected. After writing my last post, I started distancing myself from my parents a bit. I wasn't rude or anything. I just stopped being around as much. Between school, work, and the long bus rides, I didn't have much energy left to argue. But emotionally, I was checked out. I didn't eat dinner with them. Didn't sit in the living room for our usual TV time. I think they noticed, but no one said anything at first. Then one night, my mom brought it up. She came into my room and said, "You've been cold lately. You need to stop punishing your father." I told her I wasn't punishing anyone. I was just trying to keep the peace. But she pressed, "He's your dad. He made a mistake. You act like he ran over your dog." That comment actually made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it showed how little they understood what that car meant to me. I told her that car wasn't just a thing. It represented independence, effort, everything I'd been working for since I was 16. She sighed and said, "You're too sensitive about this." I didn't say anything after that. A few days later, I found out something that made everything worse. My dad wasn't just driving my mom's car. He'd started using it for side work. My dad's a handyman on the weekends, and apparently, he'd been taking her car to job sites. Meanwhile, I was still walking to work in the rain because gas is expensive, and we need to prioritize family resources. Family resources? That's what they called it. I snapped again that night. I confronted my dad in the kitchen while he was eating dinner. I told him that if he could drive to a job site and make money, he could afford to help me get another car, or at least pitch in for public transit. He just stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You don't get it," he said. "I'm doing what I can. You think I wanted to crash your car?" "No," I said. "But you're acting like it didn't happen." That's when he said something I'll never forget. "You're lucky I'm not making you pay for the damage to the stop sign." I swear. I just stood there in disbelief. My dad, the man who'd raised me to take responsibility for my actions, was now twisting everything to make himself the victim. I walked out. I packed a bag that night and went to stay with my friend, Lauren. She's been my best friend since high school, and when she heard what happened, she didn't even hesitate. She cleared out her guest room and said, "Stay as long as you need." The first few days were weird. I kept expecting my phone to blow up with calls or angry texts from my parents, but nothing. Radio silence. After about a week, my mom finally texted, "You made your point. Come home." That message felt like a slap in the face. My point? Like this was some petty protest. I told her I wasn't coming back until my dad took responsibility. She replied, "We're not doing this. Family forgives." "That's what grown-ups do." I didn't answer. A few days later, I got a call from my dad. He sounded irritated, not remorseful. He said he didn't appreciate me airing dirty laundry to people outside the family. I told him I didn't owe him silence, especially when he hadn't even apologized properly. He hung up. Since then, we've barely spoken. I've been staying at Lauren's for about 3 weeks now. I pay rent, chip in for groceries, and honestly, I feel freer here than I ever did at home. The best part? I finally managed to get a new car. It's nothing fancy. A 2013 Mazda. Also used. But this time, I'm not even putting my parents down as emergency contacts. It's fully mine, paid for with my own savings and a little help from Lauren's brother, who sold it to me cheap. The other night, I drove past my parents' house. My dad's truck was in the driveway, and my mom's car was gone. Probably because he'd taken it again. For a moment I felt sad. I missed how things used to be, before all this resentment and tension. But then I realized something important. What I missed wasn't reality. It was the version of my parents I'd wanted them to be. I think that's the hardest part about growing up. Realizing that sometimes the people who raised you don't always practice what they preach. Maybe one day I'll forgive him. Maybe we'll laugh about it years from now, but not today. Today. I'm just grateful I finally stood up for myself, and honestly, driving again, even in a beat-up old Mazda, feels like reclaiming a piece of my life I thought I'd lost for good. It's been almost 4 months since everything went down, and honestly, I didn't think I'd ever post an update. But a few things have changed, and I guess writing this out helps me make sense of it all. After moving in with Lauren, life slowly started to stabilize. I picked up more hours at work and started saving again. My new car has been running great, even if it's got a few quirks. The AC only works on max, and one of the windows sticks sometimes. But you know what? It's mine. Every time I turn the key, it reminds me that I built my life back up on my own. Things between me and my parents stayed quiet for a long time. They didn't reach out, and I didn't either. I'd see my mom's Facebook posts now and then. Family dinners, church events, random pictures of the dog. But there were no calls. No "how are you" texts, nothing. Then in late August, my mom messaged me asking if I could come over for dinner. I almost didn't go. My first instinct was to just ignore it and stay in my little bubble where things made sense. But Lauren said something that stuck with me. She told me, "You don't have to forgive to understand. Maybe closure is just hearing what they have to say." So I went. It was awkward at first. The house looked exactly the same, but everything felt different. Like walking into an old memory that doesn't quite fit anymore. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, reading the newspaper like always. He looked up when I walked in, and for the first time in a long while, he actually looked nervous. We made small talk for a while. My mom asked about my job, my classes, how the car was running. My dad barely said a word. After dinner, my mom went to the kitchen to clean up, leaving me and him alone in the dining room. That's when he finally spoke. He said, "I didn't handle things right. It wasn't a full-blown apology, but it was something." I stayed quiet and let him talk. He told me that when he crashed my car, he felt ashamed. Not just because of the accident, but because it reminded him that he wasn't invincible anymore. He said, "I've always been the one fixing things, not breaking them, and when I messed up, I didn't know how to deal with it. So I pretended like it wasn't a big deal. I thought if I ignored it, you'd move on." I didn't know what to say to that. It was the most honest thing he'd said to me in months. Then he said something that really got me. "When you left, your mom cried every night, and I told her it was your fault, but it wasn't. I just couldn't admit I'd pushed you away. It took everything in me not to cry right there." He apologized, really apologized, for how he handled the accident, for the way he talked to me, for trying to guilt me instead of owning up to it. He said he'd been saving a little each month to pay me back for what he could. And even though I told him it wasn't necessary, he insisted. He gave me a small envelope with a few $100s inside. It wasn't about the money, though. It was the gesture, the acknowledgement that what happened actually mattered. After that, we just sat there in silence for a while. Not the heavy kind, but the kind where you can feel things finally settling. My mom came back in, probably sensing the shift in energy, and the three of us ended up talking for hours. About random stuff, old memories, future plans. It wasn't perfect. There were still little awkward moments, little reminders of everything that had been said before. But it felt like a start. Since then, things have been better. Not completely healed, but better. I still live with Lauren, and my parents respect that. They even came over once to see my new place. My dad joked about the car, saying, "Don't worry, I'm not driving it." And for the first time, I was able to laugh. I think part of growing up is realizing that your parents are just people, flawed, insecure, sometimes prideful, sometimes wrong, but still trying in their own way. For the longest time, I wanted them to act perfectly because that's what I thought parents were supposed to do. But I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means deciding you're done letting it define you. Now, when I visit home, it feels lighter. My dad and I still butt heads sometimes. He's stubborn, and so am I. But there's mutual respect now. He even helped me change my car's brake pads a few weeks ago. It was one of those small, quiet bonding moments where no one talks about the past, but you can feel the effort in the air. My mom told me the other day that she's proud of how I handled everything. She said, "You've grown up a lot, and I guess I have. If there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that boundaries aren't a lack of love. They're proof of self-respect." I had to walk away from home to find my voice. But coming back and choosing to forgive was its own kind of strength. The car, the fights, the distance, all of it taught me something I probably wouldn't have learned any other way. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control what you allow and what you tolerate. And sometimes, that means standing up for yourself, even when it means standing alone for a while. So yeah, things are okay now. Not perfect, but peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough. Stories number 13. My ex-boyfriend said it's normal for teenage boys to hit their mothers. I'm still shaken. I was dating a guy who has a really bad relationship with his mother. He even spent a year not talking to her. He said she used to hit him as a child, and that she's very controlling, which is why he doesn't like her. One day we were talking about parenting, and I said, I'd never want to hit my kids. He immediately disagreed and said hitting kids, especially boys, is fundamental to parenting. He said if a son ever hits his mother, the father should step in and protect her. Basically that violence is expected and normal. I was shocked and asked why he thought that would even happen. He told me it's common and kinda normal for male teenagers to be violent toward their mothers because testosterone makes boys aggressive. When I asked if testosterone also makes boys aggressive toward their fathers, he had no answer. He kept insisting that I should prepare myself to be hit by a future teenage son, because it's so common. He said almost all his high school classmates were violent toward their mothers. That conversation really scared me. I grew up with sisters and never saw anything like that. I don't think it's about hormones. I think it's about how some boys learn to see women as weaker or lesser. It made me afraid that he might one day hit me, since he clearly sees violence toward women as acceptable or natural. Is what he said true in any way? Is he revealing his own experience and telling about himself? To moms of sons, is this something you've ever experienced? Comments, commenter 1, it's not normal. The fact that he thinks it is speaks volumes. Commenter 2, your question about whether it makes them hit their fathers was a good one, with a very revealing lack of answer. If it was truly a loss of control, he and these other boys he knew would also be taking swings at the household members big and strong enough to fight back evenly, but they're just going for the ones they perceive as easy targets. And for what it's worth, no. I've never heard of this. My brother and I used to fight like crazy when we were teenagers, but that was the fault of both of us. And he never got aggressive with our parents. Reply, the fact that he made it sounds very neutral made me terrified. I think there's some kind of ideology behind that behavior. Commenter 3, 2 teenage sons here 14 and 18. The idea that they would hit anyone, let alone me, is utterly alien and super fucked up. Commenter 4, the only place I've encountered teenagers attacking their mothers is on TV. No teenage boy I grew up with did it. And I'm fairly comfortable saying I doubt many of them would have even considered it. I don't know if your ex was revealing something about his own desires or experiences, but it's definitely not generally normal. Stories number 14. I hit my child. I have failed as a father when my son was younger. He was the sweetest boy, kind-hearted, thoughtful, the type of kid who would run up to you with a smile so pure it could light up a room. I'd promised myself that he would never experience the kind of childhood I had. No fear, no abuse, no walking on eggshells, terrified of the next angry outburst. But things changed over the past few years. He started acting out, small things like skipping school, lying and sneaking out. I thought it was just normal teenage rebellion. I tried to be patient and understanding. I told myself that kids go through phases and that this was just his way of testing boundaries. I didn't want to be too harsh. I didn't want to become the monster I grew up with. I thought if I showed him love, he'd come back to the boy I knew, the boy I raised. Yesterday he came up to me asking me for over $1,000. He had gotten his girlfriend pregnant and needed money for an abortion. This was, of course, a huge shock, but I knew that it was my role as a father to be supportive. I agreed, but I explained to him that an abortion didn't cost that much money. That's when he told me that the money wasn't just for the abortion. It was to convince his girlfriend to get the abortion in the first place. She refused to terminate the pregnancy due to her religious beliefs, and my son thought that if I just gave her enough money, I could somehow change her mind. I couldn't believe that the son I raised had turned into someone who thought that he could use money to control someone else's body. We got into a huge screaming match of an argument, and he stormed off to his room. I have been looking after a boy my son's age for nearly a decade. It's a complicated situation. But he's a relative who's been living with us most of the time due to some family issues. I haven't officially adopted him, but I consider him a second son. He heard us arguing and confided in me. He told me all about what my son was really like at school, how he was known as a bully who tormented other students, especially kids who were LGBT, or mentally disabled, or came from poor families. The worst part was that he even bullied his own adopted brother. He taunted him for the trauma he'd experienced in his childhood. The same trauma that I'd experienced in mine. I was furious, devastated, because I was so afraid of becoming my stepfather that I let my son walk all over me, over his brother, over everyone. I confronted him. I wanted to give him one last chance to show some remorse, but he didn't. He just stared at me. Defiant, even smug. No apology, no regret, no understanding of the pain he'd caused. He owned up to everything and doubled down on it, saying he was just having fun. Then he made an awful remark about my adopted son, asking for everything that happened to him. And in that moment, something inside me broke. I hit him. Even writing those words makes me sick. I hit my son. And then I hit him again and again and again. I swore I'd never be like my stepfather, that I'd never lay a hand on my children. But in that moment, I lost control. I lost everything. As soon as I struck him, the look in his eyes changed. It was the same look of fear I used to have when I was a child, when my stepfather's anger turned into violence. I only stopped because I noticed that I'd made him bleed. I snapped out of my rage, but it was too late. He actually fucking flinched when I tried to tend to his injury. My own child is afraid of me. My wife and daughters saw everything, and they haven't talked to me since. How do you make amends for something like this? How do you forgive yourself when you've done the very thing you swore you'd never do? How do you look your children in the eyes when you've become the person you always feared you'd be? My stepfather used to tell me that once I reached his age, I would see things from his point of view, and I would understand why he did everything that he did to me. I did everything I could to make sure I didn't turn into him. As my son grew up, I thought I'd finally broken the cycle. When I found out what my son had done, I wondered if maybe I hadn't broken the cycle after all. Maybe it just skipped a generation. I had this subconscious belief that maybe if I just hit him hard enough, I could somehow beat the wrongdoing out of him. And all this did was turn me into the very thing I hated most in this world. I can't help but wonder if my stepfather was also in my position once. Did he also swear not to become his father? Until I pushed things too far, and he had no choice but to put me back on the right path using the only way of parenting he'd been exposed to? Was he also horrified by his own actions at first? How many more times did he hit me before he embraced becoming the type of man who abused his own child? I just hope my son will forgive me one day. But I can never forgive myself. Ope responding to a comment. Reply, you're right, I know I need help. I swear I'm not a violent man. I won't lie and say I wasn't furious when I found out about the abortion bribery. But finding out about the bullying on top of all that was the breaking point. Maybe it is a form of PTSD, or maybe it's just years of bottled up anger I never truly dealt with. Whatever it is, I need to confront it. My adopted son did show me proof in the first place. He had screenshots of social media posts, text messages, even some photos and videos. Usually I would have tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and verify things first. But seeing all this evidence just further cemented the realization of my son going down the wrong path. You're also right about my son's girlfriend. I can't imagine what she's feeling. I can't imagine that my own son would do something like that to her. I'll make sure to talk to her first instead of going directly to her family. But I have a lot on my plate for now, and I don't think I'm ready to deal with this immediately. What I'm worried about is talking to my ex, the mother of my son. She hasn't been very active in his life, but she holds a lot of love for him, and I hate to think about how she would react finding out about what I did to our child. I'll have to talk to my daughters too. Reassure them that I would never dream about hitting them. Although what are the chances they'll believe that? If I was in their position, I definitely wouldn't. The youngest is only 7. How do you explain to a 7-year-old why her daddy beat up her brother until he bled? You've given me a lot to think about. I need to talk to my wife, I need to talk to all my kids, and I need to seek professional help for all of us. I'm terrified of what I'll uncover, but it's better than letting things keep festering in the dark. I just hope it's not too late to fix the damage I've done. Update, my son ran away to live with my stepfather. I can't believe I'm writing this. I had everything under control. I apologized to my youngest son, and I promised to be a better father. I told him everything about my childhood, about the fear, the abuse, and the nights I spent hiding in my room because I was just that afraid of my stepfather. I told him how badly I wanted to protect him from all of it, and how ashamed I was that in the end I'd repeated the same pattern. Against all odds, he forgave me. I talked to my ex, my son's mother, and I couldn't be more grateful for her help. We may not have had the perfect relationship, but she truly loves that boy, and her talking to him had a huge part in him forgiving me. He admitted that he'd been wrong and needed to apologize to his brother, to his girlfriend, and the kids at school he'd hurt, and one by one he did. His girlfriend accepted his apology and decided to stay with him, and I talked to her parents about raising the baby. Things went surprisingly well and they were extremely supportive, and we agreed to split childcare 50-50 at their home and ours. When the baby was born, something in all of us changed. Holding my granddaughter for the first time felt like life was giving me another chance. My son stepped up too. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. We both started going to therapy. We rebuilt trust little by little. Things were looking up. 2 days ago, I heard my sons arguing about something I don't even remember. I tried to defuse the situation, but neither of them were listening to me. Then my youngest son started repeatedly hitting his brother, who just stood there and took the punches while attempting to shield himself. And the only thing I could think of was the way my stepfather would hit me, and the way I'd stand there helplessly cowering in fear, just praying that someone would step up and defend me. And when I looked at my son, the only face I saw was that of my stepfather. I broke our promise and hit him again. He froze when I hit him, and I should have stopped there, but I didn't, and whatever evil within me that made me lose control the first time took a hold of me again, and I couldn't stop hitting him. He stepped backwards and lost his balance, and fell into a side table and crashed face first into a glass vase. He didn't cry the first time I hit him, but this time he was sobbing and begging me not to hurt him, and the sight of him broken and afraid made me want to crawl out of my own skin. I called an ambulance and told him I was prepared to take full responsibility if he were to report me, since I understood full well why he wouldn't feel safe around me anymore. But when they asked what happened, he lied and said it was an accident. He lied to protect me even after I hurt him so badly. Just like I lied to protect my stepfather because I'd Stockholm syndromed myself into thinking he was the only person who would ever love me. Yesterday, while I was at work, I received a message from my wife saying that my son had texted her saying that he'd packed his things and moved in with my stepfather. I don't even know how to breathe right now. My own son is now living with the same man who taught me fear. I spent my son's entire life protecting from trauma like I'd experienced, only to send him straight back into his arms. I can't even tell him I'm sorry in a way that matters anymore. I swore to protect him from men like my stepfather, and now my stepfather is protecting him from me. It's almost like some twisted Greek tragedy. I'm an awful person. Stories number 15. Ida for not letting my mill stay with me. My estranged husband died 1 month ago by suicide. I left him 3 months ago and filed for divorce. Context I find important. My husband was abused physically and sexually as a child by babysitters, and his POS mother's boyfriends from ages 4, 11, which she knew about and allowed to happen, for drugs and alcohol until he was finally removed from her care and placed with his father on the other side of the country. The trauma has followed him through his entire life, and for some reason he still wanted a relationship with her, which I was extremely against. But not my choice, as he so often reminded me. She is now his only living relative. 3 years ago she told us she would come for a visit for a week, but brought a lot of stuff for just a week. She was there for 2 before I got very angry with the situation, and come to find out she was trying to live with us, and neither of them planned on telling me outright, and I was expected to figure it out. The house is mine, so I said she leaves or they both leave, and if they wouldn't leave, the house would be sold and I'd leave them both homeless. She left, but I should have left him back then. The trauma of my husband's abuse weighed on him heavily, and he refused to get help. He would fly into a blind rage at the mere suggestion of therapy. According to him, therapy is a sham. Men don't get therapy, and he's no pussy. This led to him developing a drinking problem shortly after we got married 5 years ago. He began to abuse me while drunk, mostly emotionally, but he slapped me once 2 years ago, and sexually assaulted me 3 months ago, which was the final straw leading to me kicking him out and filing for divorce. He never got a place since he couldn't hold a job due to his alcoholism and couch-hopped or slept outside from what I heard. We did not have contact with each other directly after kicking him out. Well, a month ago I get a call telling me that while he was sleeping out of a friend's garage he had intentionally overdosed and died. It took a while to afford a funeral, but we finally had a service last week. This obviously included his mother. I was cordial with her under the circumstances, but after the service she stopped me before I left to talk. She said she wanted to get her son's things and take them back to Pennsylvania with her where she lives. I said of course, obviously, and I can pack it all up for her. She said it would take her some time to go through it all, and she wanted time to sit with his things and grieve, and asked to stay with me for a few weeks. After the stunt she pulled a few years ago and previous mistreatment of me, I told her no, but that I'd make sure I sent her everything. She went absolutely ballistic in the funeral home parking lot, screaming, crying, calling me vulgar names and throwing herself on the ground, and eventually told me that I'm the reason my husband killed himself. I said nothing, because I knew I'd say something just as awful as she did. My husband's friend eventually separated her from me, and I left to go home. Now it's been a week, and some friends are on my side that I don't owe her a stay in my house, and others are agreeing with her that I'm a horrible person for not letting a grieving mom into my house. One even also said he killed himself because of me. I do already feel guilty for his suicide, and now it's even worse. Sorry if this post is incoherent, I'm just all over the place, so. Ita for not letting my husband's mom stay in my house. Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. If there's any background reason why your husband is gone, It's the woman child having a literal tantrum on the gravel of a parking lot. She will become the thing that won't leave if you let her in your home, and if I were you, I'd have some cameras or other security around your home just in case. Commenter 2, you didn't break this man. You tried to help him put himself back together. You are not the reason he died. He died because life was too painful for him, and because he refused to ask anyone for help. His refusals for therapy and insistence that it was for pussies took away his last chance for finding some semblance of peace. That's not on you. His mother broke him. She put her desires before his needs. She allowed others to hurt him and didn't step in. I do not blame her for the abuse her son suffered. I do blame her for sacrificing him to her own addictions. If you take nothing else from this thread, I hope you take this. You are not responsible for his death. It's very possible you gave him the closest thing he had to peace in his entire life. He simply didn't have the tools to put himself back together, and refused to ask others for help. That is not on you, NTA. You don't owe this woman anything. Cut out the friends who say you do, and particularly those who dare to blame you for your husband's death. His mental illness killed him, not his wife. Commenter 3. NTA, the MIL, once in your home, has no intention of leaving. As you say, she tried it before. She's a selfish, untrustworthy, histrionic abuser. Steer clear for your own sake. Pack up your ex's things and ship them to her, nothing more. Take care of yourself. Wishing you strength and better days. Commenter 4, NTA. And as someone who has attempted suicide before, it's not your fault. It's a choice we make when it seems like there's no way to stop the pain. He was on this path way before he ever met you. Trust that. I'm a victim of sexual violence myself from youth and adulthood. The support we do have access to is pretty pitiful, if I'm being honest. Unless you've got deep pockets, it's a tough life to survive. I hope you can find healing from this in your own essay. Best therapy I've had is clinical hypnotherapy alongside havening technique. It was much faster acting than any other therapy and long-lasting. If you feel so inclined to take advice on this, drop the people who blame this on you. They are fuck knuckles and can get bent. Cut meal out of your life. I'm sorry you've had to deal with any of this. Stories number 16, Ate for getting a waitress terminated? I've been staying at Kalahari resorts, and me and my large family of 19 have very trying dietary restrictions. With this being said, we have ordered the same meals for dinner the past 5 nights. Each meal averages $30–70. Each night the bill was $800 plus 20% great $200. Well, the last night I was in the restroom when my wife paid the bill. She noticed there was 20 entrees ordered on the bill. She just notices small things. She asked the waitress about it. We've had the same one all week. Very kind waitress. She took it right off, accounting it to be a mistake. When we got back to the room, my wife went to check the other receipts because if we order the same stuff, it should be the same price. She discovered there had been an extra entree added to each of our 5 other bills. I went back down to the restaurant and asked the waitress to get a manager, and she asked if there was something she could help me with. I explained to her what the issue was, and she was stunned. She started crying, trying to user me out of the front of the restaurant, telling me she will give me cash to cover it. She brings food home to her kids, and since we were the last table each night with many people, she just added her kids' food to our bill each night. I allowed her to give me the cash and went back to the room. I told my wife what happened, and she got angry, immediately left the room. She went to the restaurant to speak with a manager, and the girl was let go from what they assured my wife, and also gave her a discount on our room. I'm torn. I don't care if my wife did the right thing. I did the right thing by silently letting it go after getting restitution. I feel terrible. Commenter 1, let's see. She made $1K in tips off of your family alone that week, but she still felt the need to steal from you. I'd say she had what was coming to her. Quite honestly, I would want the tips refunded. Stealing from customers is not good customer service. Commenter 2, NTA, that is unacceptable on the waitress's part. Neither you or your wife are in any way to blame. How many other people has she pulled this scam on? Stealing from you and sullying the good name of the restaurant. Her circumstances may be unfortunate, but that does not excuse her wrongdoing. Commenter 3, you did nothing wrong. The waitress was essentially stealing from you, and probably would have continued the behavior if she had not been fired. It's very sad, because she must have been pretty desperate to do that, but the restaurant made the decision to fire her. Not you. Commenter 4, I'm gonna call bullshit on this one. The waitress is so poor she was using your money to buy her kids' food. Yet when you called her out on it, SH3 immediately had the cash on her to pay you back. Stories number 17, AIT for telling my brother that the day he was born was the worst day of my life. IF was born in 1962 in a rural area before ultrasound machines were everywhere, and the nearest town was not that close to us. And babies were born at home and delivered by the same midwife. So, when I was 7, my mother got pregnant with twins and had no idea she was carrying 2 babies, and the midwife, who had just delivered the first baby and probably did not realize there was one more to come, had to be immediately driven by my father to another farm where she was needed. Which means that, when my mother's contractions started again, I was then alone in a farm with her and the first newborn baby, and it was up to me to deliver my youngest brother with my mother instructing me. This was hands down the worst and scariest moment of my life because I feared both my mother and the baby wouldn't make it. Well, thankfully it all worked out. Now here's what happened. Last weekend my husband and I were celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary, and we had a party and people were making speeches and talking about us. But when the mic got to my brother, who of course has no first-hand memory of his own birth, and only knows what he was told about it, he took the chance to tell the story as if it was a fun anecdote, and then my dad got home, and there were 2 babies instead of 1. So funny, anyone. Thanks, sis, for helping me come into this world. And everybody thought it was fun and sweet, but to me, it was the opposite. It brought back some memories that are not at all positive to me. My mood completely shifted after that. And I think my brother noticed at once because he came to talk to me afterwards and asked if he had said something wrong. And then I told him this is not a funny story to me, and that the day he was born was indeed the worst day of my life, and not something I'd like to think back in a happy moment celebrating my marriage. And he went quiet and then said, "Wow, I was trying to honor you and that's how you thought of my speech?" The thing is, I wasn't saying that him being born was a bad thing. I love my brother. It was just that the circumstances of his birth made the occasion traumatic for me, and that he should know better than talking about it as a fun fact if he had put himself in my shoes. But now I think I should have kept quiet and said nothing, either it bothered me or not. Comments. Commenter 1YTA for how you phrase that. I don't care how else someone should take being told, the day you were born was the worst day of my life. Had you said, the day you were born was very traumatic for me, I was so scared that you and Mom wouldn't make it, that would have conveyed a whole different sentiment. Commenter 2YTA, how else was he supposed to take what you said? According to your post and comments, he had no reason to believe it was traumatic for you. People have a wide range of reactions to similar experiences. He's not a mind reader. A simple clarification. Helping Mom give birth to you was traumatic for me. I wasn't sure if you or Mom would survive. Would have made all the difference here. Commenter 3YTA and need some perspective on this. I'm sure what happened was traumatic and horrifying, but the worst day of your life? That's a bit dramatic at your age. Have you never actually lost someone close to you? And the day you were born was the worst day of my life is just an all-around shitty thing to say to anyone. Much less family. Commenter 4YTA. If you've never told him how you felt about that day, then there is no way he could possibly know. Also, you could have handled it differently than saying it was the worst day of your life. Perhaps a very stressful and frightening day? Worst day sounds like you hate that he was born. Stories number 18. On 12-month-old twin nieces are not invited. SIL and Mill are arguing. I 32F and my future husband 34M are getting married in 4 months. My sister-in-law, Amy, has twin girls that will be 12 months old and a 6-year-old son. Prior to the twins being born, I had a conversation with Amy, where she said to me she was looking forward to knowing at the 12-month mark there would be a child-free evening where she could let loose and she didn't want her kids there. I said that we would love to have her 6-year-old as the flower boy, and we agreed that he would be part of the ceremony, and then be driven the short distance home to join his sisters with a babysitter during the reception. Fast forward to now. Amy is shopping for dresses for the twins for the wedding day. I was confused to hear about it and asked why. Amy seems to have forgotten our conversation and wants her twins at the wedding. I've been gentle, but I have said that it was only the 6-year-old that was planned to be there, and I wasn't too keen on the younger kids being there. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are upset with my future husband and I about this decision. Emil has pushed for the whole family to be in the photographer's family portraits on the day, as the whole family will be together and dressed nice. Sister-in-law has said, your family deserves to be at your wedding, and has also said she doesn't want the 6-year-old to be attending events without the twins because he has had trouble adjusting to them and is always asking to leave them behind. Seal doesn't want to encourage that behavior by having him attend anything without them, and so she has said that either all her kids come or none will. This conversation was tense and I am very conflict avoidant. I left it there, unresolved, Future husband doesn't want the twins there, as they do summon a considerable amount of attention, and he wants people focused on us. I don't really care if they are there or not, but I do feel like I've been dismissed by SEL and Mayel, and they've tried to change plans without letting me know, and then tried to guilt-trip me when I called it out. Now it kind of feels like an ultimatum is being set, and the whole attitude around it has me wanting to put my foot down and push back. FH and I have offered up some compromises. We are having a gathering with all the same people the night before the wedding, and all their side of the family will be around for the morning after the wedding. We the twins would be so welcome there, and we would be able to get some great photos and have time together. But we would still have our wedding be child-free with exception of Flower Boy. But this was completely dismissed. I just want to know if I'm overreacting by saying they can't attend. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's your wedding, and SIL and Mael should have been more respectful about how they approached you about these concerns. That having been said, I would gently suggest that you and your fiancé may want to rethink how you're handling this. It is unusual to invite one child and not other siblings, and I don't follow the concern about 12-month-old twins stealing attention from you. If you hold firm, which is absolutely within your right, it means there will possibly be lingering hard feelings with your SIL and Mael going forward, and that you need to be okay with that? Just my sort of reply, yes, I know it's weird to invite just one sibling. That's just how that original conversation landed, and it made sense at the time. We have a DIY venue, and in keeping things budget, we have family and friends helping out with a few things. Amy's husband was given the job of dog minder for our large dog. Mill was to be performing a wedding coordinator type role. We feel like that's a lot to handle if you're chasing around twins. It's not so much about stealing any spotlight. It's more about things running smoothly. Hope that makes a bit more sense. Commenter 2. Hold up. Your large dog will be there and needs a handler. The handler is the father of the twins. The twins can't attend because they will be a distraction. But I think the dog must also be a distraction that requires a handler. If I were Amy, I'd be upset that my husband was assigned dog duty, and then we were told our kids weren't welcome. I just don't think you can ask people to DIY it for you so you can save money, and then also tell the unpaid labor to pay for a babysitter so you can have your preferred child-free wedding. It sounds to me like Amy's family is providing a lot flower boy, dog wrangler, and possibly more, and you, your fiancé, aren't being very considerate of that reply. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that looks really poorly on us from that angle. Which is probably exactly how they would see things. Our dog is a fun addition, but not all that important. This has been the plan for the last 8 months or so, because of the decision Amy made to not have her twins there. Changing that decision is totally up for discussion, and would change our plans with the dog handler job. I'd be willing to hire a dog handler to keep her there, no dramas. The drama comes from Amy choosing to have her twins there, when this plan has been in place since before they were born, and she didn't care to ask us if a change of plan was cool. Commenter 3, I would compromise and agree that, okay, no kids whatsoever then, and go without a flower boy. I almost feel like a 6yo little boy would be just as much of a loud distraction as 2 1yos, and your entire wedding is child-free anyways. So it would be odd that one single small child is the exception to that. Just avoid the whole thing and leave all the kids out of it. Reply, yes, I feel like that's a great option. Totally unfair on the 6-year-old though, as he's been told all about it and is so excited. I don't want to do that to the poor kid. OP should get her fiancé to deal with his mother and sister. Reply. We are working on this together. This post is from my perspective, for the purpose of sharing it with him in a moment. OOP responds to a comment on her FH wanting time and space to have his parents' full attention for the wedding, and not being distracted by the twins. Reply. You're spot on. FH and I have given a lot to his parents, so they can be around to help with the grandkids. We have had them living in our home for the past 5 years because we live close to SIL. What that means is for the past 5 years, every outing, event or conversation has revolved entirely around these 3 children. It's become quite difficult for us, and FH wants one day that's not about them. There's obviously other reasons too, but this is for sure a contributing factor. Commenter 4. I don't really care if they are there or not. If you don't really care, then allow them to be at the ceremony and in the pictures, then go to a babysitter for the reception. Ultimately, and years down the road, you may find that you are happy, you have pictures with all of the family in them. Reply. This is the easy option for sure, but it's not just me. FH is dead set against it. I get why. Our lives have all revolved around these kids for such a long time. The MIL and FIL have lived with us for the past 5 years. because we live so close to SIL and they want to be around the help. But especially in the last 6 months, we have been asking them to sort out their living plans long term, as we don't want them with us forever and we are starting our married life, planning our own family, and there's a lot on hold waiting for them to leave. The twins are their excuse to stay, while paying no rent, no groceries, no bills, but the twins need us. It's true, but it's also made FH resentful. And me a bit too. FH wants a day that doesn't revolve around them. Update 2. 12-month-old nieces are not invited. Esil and Mile are arguing, so FH and I were invited to the twins. First birthday was this week. As much as I knew this was not the right time or place to have a discussion about a tense topic involving the exclusion of these two babies, it came up. Context: 1 week ago, FH spoke to his BIL father of the twins, and again said that the babies were not invited to the wedding. I wasn't there and don't have further context on how this came up or how the conversation was received when we were around the dinner table for the birthday get-together. FH left the room for 1 minute. That was the moment Esil said to me, "I'd like to check with you about what FH said about the wedding. He said the babies weren't invited to the ceremony or reception, so is that right?" I said, "Yeah, that's our plan. This is not news to her, see last post. This has been my stance since before these kids were born." I excused myself shortly after and made myself busy in another room. FH sat at the table and apparently laid down the law with his family over this and some other issues. We left shortly after, but before we went, Esil said to me, "I respect that this is what you want, but I am really upset. Part of me feels so guilty that I've upset her. Part of me is annoyed and perplexed by her apparent shock at this information. As if we didn't have this conversation a month ago." Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She's allowed to be upset and have feelings about it, as long as that sentence means she'll drop it. I would just assume this topic is closed. Make no other mention of it unless they bring it up again. Reply: "That's my plan. This has been put out there, clear as crystal, no confusion. I will just be on edge expecting petty comments. I guess I have to be okay with that. I have hurt her feelings." Commenter 2. You really should have said, in front of everyone, like we talked about back whatever month, our plan has been no babies. Drive the 6-year-old home after the wedding. You said you were looking forward to a night without the kids? Bet you $1 they're trying to get free fancy family portraits out of the deal. I'd be tempted to let them, and then not give them the photos of just their family. Oh, we didn't have the photographer touch up every photo. You can call them and buy those photos yourself. Reply: I did hear her say to FH something like, "Those photos are for a lifetime." Her babies being in the photos has come up several times. I don't understand that. These kids won't feel any attachment to an event that they don't remember from when they were 1. Commenter 3. Part of me feels so guilty that I've upset her. This would be a good feeling for you to examine. You seem to be taking on responsibility for her feelings. Why is that? Meanwhile, she seems to have no regard for your feelings. What is the basis of your guilt? Reply: I'm actually impressed with how she handled things in that moment, letting me know she was upset, but also that she respected the decision. I don't feel as though she had no regard for my feelings. As for me feeling responsible for her feelings, I feel that way because I made a choice that hurt her feelings. That is my responsibility. What is OOP's plan if her SIL shows up to the wedding with the twins? Reply: I have a feeling FH will have dealt with that before I make my way down the aisle. Commenter 4. Please tell your FSIL that she and her hubby had their day. This one is about you and your FH. Actually, she and FMIL know the twins will be the center of attention, and that's what they want. They want to show off to the rest of the family. The next thing we will see on here is that SIL and Mill won't attend if babies aren't invited. That's when you and FH need to stand together and tell them that they will be missed. And when people ask, you will tell the truth that MIL wants her golden child to be the center of attention at your wedding. If you back down this time, that's how your whole life will be. Stand firm. Reply: FH also told me MIL said to him that this may be the only chance they get to introduce the twins to some elderly extended family that live 1,005 hours away. I personally feel as though, if they can make it down for a wedding between a person they haven't met, me, and someone they haven't seen in a decade, FH, they can make it down to meet the kids, if they cared to meet them. Is OOP still planning to have the twins' father handle her dog? Reply: I think with all the tenseness between us all now, I will be asking someone else. Update 2. 12-month-old nieces are not invited. Esil and Mill are arguing. Okay, welcome back all. Quick rehash, my FH editor's note. Future husband has a sister. She has twin babies that are 1-year-old. since before they were born the decision was made that they would not attend FH and his wedding. Mill, their very involved grandmother, and Eshil, their mother, have refused to accept this as reality and continually argue over it and seem to forget previous conversations. On to the update. We are now just 4 sleeps away from the wedding. I should be feeling so excited, but the entire energy has been completely crushed by these 2 women. FH's grandmother Emil's mother arrived 2 days ago to stay with us in our home during the festivities. Last night we all sat at the table for dinner. Not common in our house, we usually eat in front of the TV. But as we had a guest, I didn't think it was weird. Dinner finished, and we were having a pleasant chat, mostly about some incoming visitors' sleeping arrangements and airport pickups. Just logistical things. Then Miel said, "One more thing. What can I do to make you more comfortable with the babies being there?" No lie, I felt my heart rate spike instantly. I said, "We are not comfortable with the babies being there." Emiel, they asked a bunch of questions about our timeline, and wrote down the times we would be going off for photos. I said to her, "We said the babies cannot come. That includes the time we will not be there." She said, "I'm just trying to find a way for the babies to meet everyone. Everyone's been saying to me they are so excited to meet these bubs, and I'm sick of having the same conversation with them all," I said. "You are trying to find a way to get what you want at our wedding. The babies had a first birthday recently. You could have invited people to that. Their mother doesn't work. She's had a year to organize introducing these babies to anyone who wants to. You don't have to wait for a wedding or a funeral for a family meeting." She said, "That's just it. It's a family wedding." I said, "No, it's our wedding. The family is invited to celebrate with us, eat dinner, cake, and dance if they want to." Throughout this back and forth, the grandmother was piping in with, "These are your nieces. You're having a dog there, but not you sister's children. The 6-year-old wants his sisters there." I said, "He is 6. He doesn't get what he wants." This went on for a bit before I said conversation over and stormed off. Let's see how the next 4 days go. FML edit to add, FH was at the table too. Also saying the same things as me. He's been saying the same things all along. We have each other's backs. Relevant comments. Why isn't OOP's fiancé handling the family? Reply, my bad, FH was right there with me at the table. He was 100% with me fighting this fight. Commenter 1. He needs to tell both of them if they bring it up again they are no longer invited. Will he tell his sister to leave if she shows up with the babies? This is so weird, by the way. Why are they expecting your wedding to be the time everyone meets them? Why hasn't anyone met these babies before? Reply. Right, they've had a year. If they cared to meet them, they could have. We're talking about people who live a 2-hour drive away. It's not around the corner, but not an impossible feat. Commenter 2, you're having a dog there? Reply, yes. Our dog, UP, responds to multiple comments about having her dog and a 6-year-old at the wedding, but not the twins. Reply, I don't get it. We can invite whoever we want. We are talking about babies. Everyone is better off, including the babies. If they are not there, everyone will be more present if they're not chasing down small children intent on hurting themselves. Commenter 3, I know that this isn't a common take. Yes, it is your wedding, but at the end of the day, it's about joining your 2 families together. Is it really worth dying on this hill? If the 6YO is coming, I don't understand what the problem with kids is. I mean, yeah, it's your special day, but people take themselves way too seriously. You have to live with these people for the rest of your lives? Is it really worth the animosity? Reply, yes, 100% it is worth it to us. His family have crossed every boundary and helicopter our lives. This is one line that we will hold, and it's on our wedding day. The one day we get to be in the right regardless of the decision. Update 3, 12-month-old twin nieces are not invited. Miel and Sil are arguing, this will be a quick one. I'm sure there will be more updates in the future. We got married. It was a great day and night, and despite all the drama, the wedding was awesome. Onto the juicy stuff. There's been a few things happen this week. Every day has been its own adventure. Tuesday, I walk into my kitchen and find Sil. She does not have a key and did not let me know she was coming by. She did what she came over to do, and I sent her a text very politely saying, if she needs to come by for something and can see my car is there, just knock and I'll greet you at the door. Well, she didn't like that. All communication with her since she has used very corporate language and at one point called me a stranger and not family. On Thursday morning I was informed that Emil, Eshil, Giamil, Efil, the sisters, aunts, and kids would not be attending our house for the pre-wedding get-together BBQ on Friday night, as they were going to do their own party at SIL house for a family member who had had a birthday on another day that week. We pushed back hard and told them they'd better come to this event we had been planning for over 6 months, because the whole event was invented for them to have their family reunion they wanted. All the food had been purchased. They reluctantly agreed. They showed up late and not hungry. Turns out they had done their little get-together for lunch at Sil's house. There wasn't enough chairs for everyone, so the families, mine his, were separated inside and outside. We should have had enough chairs to all sit outside. I checked my cameras. They had taken the extra chairs to Esiel's house for their lunch, and not returned them. The extended family on his side decided not to attend the venue as planned to assist with setup on the Friday tour. As they had been at Esiel's lunch, Hubs and I did it all ourselves. It's a blank venue, so there was a lot of work, and we had planned on having a dozen helpers. As far as I know, there were no babies at the venue at any time. They were invited to attend the venue prior to the ceremony, so they could get family photos. Photographer and all, but they chose not to. Flower Kid did a terrible job, but we were still so proud of him. He looked fantastic, and we were glad he was there. Sil refused to stand in family photos until an aunt literally pushed her. Mill did not say one word to me all day. No hello, no congratulations, no see ya. The babysitter was sick. Sil left straight after the ceremony with Flower Boy and went home to care for kids. Her husband stuck around all night talking to everyone about how he wants to open his marriage, and Sil gave him permission for a girlfriend. Other than him, all my husband's side of the family ate dinner and left. Without a goodbye, they left before speeches. First dance or cake cutting. Emil did send me a text, explaining they left their only son's wedding immediately after dinner because she was cold. Is was 21 degrees. Relevant comments, commenter 1. What did your husband say to his family about trespassing? Stealing from you? And sabotaging your event? Why did you have a BBQ instead of his family, if it was what they wanted and not you? Everyone in this dynamic is exhausting. I don't know that I could have gone through with it myself, but I'm glad the wedding went well despite the nonsense. Congratulations to you and your husband. I hope your next update is the two of you moving far away from these people. Reply. They aren't trespassing as the Mil and Phil live in our house. Sil was given a key by her mother to enter the house. Totally understandable. I'm just asking her to give me a heads up before she actually enters the house. I just didn't like thinking I was alone in the house and seeing someone who I know has not been given a key standing in my kitchen. Like, shoot a text, or if I'm literally at the house, just knock, then I can greet you. We could even chat and exchange pleasantries. I don't even mind them taking the chairs. Any other day that's fine. We have 2 dozen, need a chair, take a chair. But not the day I'm having a gathering, and if you do, bring them back with you. I am so open to criticism on this one. I'm struggling to see the other side of this one. Commenter 2, congratulations. Get meal and feel out of your house. This whole thing is toxic. It's going to impact your well-being at some point. And who knows, possibly your marriage, just a note. Depending on where you live. 21ers can be cold. I live in the southern hemisphere. In a place where summer lasts for months, I find anything below 35-degree freezing cold. I love my 40 digs days. Reply, totally. 21's cool for where we are. Subtropical, definitely cool enough to be a little uncomfortable. We had provided blankets that were used by many people. Yes, I agree, it is cool. And for some more sensitive among the group, they would have been uncomfortable. The parents of the groom actually leaving, though, without a goodbye and just a text later on? Yikes. Commenter 2. I'll bet DH has never naysayed his parents in his life, and suddenly, for one important day, he refused to back down. And this is the payback. Get them out of your house and change the locks. They will make your lives hell if you allow them to. Don't allow them to. Reply. Sounds like solid advice. We have a few days alone now. So, I think we will spend some time strategizing. You're absolutely right. He has never said no to them before, and I think they just can't handle the concept of him having autonomy. Stories number 19. Aita for not taking back my pregnant ex after her freak out when she found out she was pregnant. I started dating my GF almost 2 years ago, in August 2024. She moved back to her hometown to start a graduate program. After doing long distance for a while, she asked me to move to her hometown, and I agreed. We got an apartment together last January. In early May, we found out she was pregnant. While this was unplanned, she was on the pill. I was incredibly excited. I had been saving up for years and had even begun to look at houses before we found out she was pregnant. While I was excited, my ex did not seem excited. I chalked it up to stress about finals and whatnot. Well, finals came and went, and her general attitude about the pregnancy remained the same. I tried talking to her about it, but she told me she was excited. I have known her for a while, and have seen when she was looking forward to something, and her response was not consistent with what I had seen in the past. After about a month of this, she sat me down and said, "I cannot do this." She said she is not ready to be a mom, and was planning to get an abortion. She also said, "I think it is best we break up." That was early July. She moved in with her parents. She asked me to not reach out for a while, so I did not reach out to her. I was in her hometown, which is not very big, and her sizable family all live nearby, so I started to make plans on moving back to where I was living before. Well, then she reached out early September and said she is not getting an abortion, and she wants to work on the relationship. She said she had a freak out about having a kid, but she wants to now. I told her I will be a loving and caring father, but I am not interested in getting back together. We will have a co-parenting relationship. She is pleading with me to reconsider, but I do not want a relationship with her at this point. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Nobody can force you into a relationship. If she isn't right for you, then move on and be friends who can co-parent well for the child's sake. Commenter 2.NTA. Freaking out about an unplanned pregnancy is reasonable. Breaking off a relationship and going radio silent is suspicious. There are any number of things that could potentially be going on. Maybe there's a chance you aren't the father. Maybe your ex is looking for financial support after getting kicked out by her parents. Protect yourself by insisting on having your name added as the father by the courts after a DNA test file for determination of paternity. Also have the court set child support and visitation. Commenter 3 NTA, but I would definitely request DNA test from the courts just to be safe. It doesn't really matter since you have no intentions of getting back with her, but her just going off the deep end is kinda suspicious. Sure, it can be chalked up to hormones or being scared, but what she did is not something you do in a healthy relationship. Commenter 4 NTA, she moved out and said she was terminating. That's ending things. Get a paternity test, please. I don't mean to sound, well, mean, but given her response, please don't sign the BC without that. Stories number 20. Ex-boyfriend 22M destroyed a petroglyph and rock formation at a national park. We are currently waiting for our shuttle service back to our car, and I think I'm going to have him drive me to the nearest airport, so I can fly home because I can't stand the idea of being around him for 3 days. We went backpacking in a national park. It was really his first time doing anything like this, and he was a pain in the ass from the start. He brought way too much booze and almost no water, and the springs we planned on catching were almost all dried up. He could have died had we not found one that was good. On the day we found the spring, he decided the smart thing to do was to drink all his booze and fill bottles up with water. But he got so drunk, I told him I didn't like and he was scaring me. His answer to this was to take out Camp Hatchet and not only destroy a 2,000-year-old petroglyph, he also broke off several of these little lava rock knolls that were all over the place. I was disgusted and I packed up and started hacking out. He caught up to me the next day, and I broke up with him on the spot. He hiked the rest of the way out screaming at me the whole way that I was a bee. I was so relieved when we got to Trailhead because he calmed down. That was an hour or so ago, but should I report him to the park rangers before I leave? I just Googled it, and he could seriously do jail time for this. What should I do? Edit, I called the NPS office for this area, and they are going to send a ranger out to this parking lot. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, yes, report him. Side note. Breaking up with an unstable man can be extra dangerous when alone in the woods. Reply, yeah, no kidding. He screamed at me for almost 3 hours on our hike out. I just busted my credit card buying a one-way ticket home, and I'm almost thinking it might be safer to hitchhike to the airport than have him give me a ride. Commenter 2, yep, this is Cultural Violence National Park Service's words and is illegal activity. You have a responsibility to report it, and if you don't report it, you could be held partly responsible. Reply, thank you, a park ranger is on his way to meet me at the parking lot. EX doesn't know. Top comment, commenter 1. IMO, that's one of the most kick-ass reasons to break up with him, and a great story for later. He was lil bitch. Broke some rocks in a temper tantrum, and now Uncle Sam has him by the balls. Ex-boyfriend 22M destroyed a petroglyph and rock formation at a national park. This sub was so amazing, I owe you an update. So basically my last post blew up, and it was locked right in the middle of everything going down. It sucked reading people's posts wondering if I was safe, or even offering me money for Uber and plane tickets, so I didn't have row ride with my exes and not being able to update. But I appreciate it so much. I was literally blown away by how many people wanted to help me out of a potentially bad situation. Obviously I am safe and home, but that afternoon was so crazy, and I'm so lucky to have run into some equally great people in RHE parking lot. So when we got back to the parking lot, he basically told me, "Get in the car, we're leaving." I told him that I wasn't sure if I was riding home with him or not. He said that he wasn't leaving me stranded, and was going to go into town and get gas, and I had better come to my senses by the time he got back. This super nice older lady come up to me and asked me if my boyfriend just abandoned me. I said no, that I was actually hoping he didn't come back. She told me that she'd hoped her husband wouldn't come back since the honeymoon, but somehow he had the nose of a coonhound, which just cracked me up. It turns out that they were there in their RV, and she invited me to sit in their AC until I got my issues figured out. It turns out they were some of the nicest people I've ever met. So from their RV is where I called the National Parks Ranger, right when my last thread got locked and they sent a ranger out. I was really hoping they would show up about the same time my ex got back. Unfortunately, he got back first. Looked around the parking lot for me for a while and texted me that I was a ducking stupid bitch abs. He was really leaving. I told him to please go. The rangers got there and we talked for a long time about the damage that was done, where it was, why he had done it, etc. I was kind of hoping they'd chase him down the highway, but they said that unfortunately they don't really do that kind of stuff. But they would send in someone to investigate the damage, and if it's bad enough they can submit a federal arrest warrant, and either NPS or even the FBI might pay him a visit. The ranger said that this kind of stuff happens. Way more than they'd like, and almost always they have enough evidence and the penalties are stiff enough that the guilty person usually makes a plea deal and pays a pretty big fine. It makes me happy that he most likely won't get away with it. The people with the RV were so nice. They said that even though the airport I was flying out of was 150 miles in the opposite direction of where they were going, they would be happy to give me a ride. I literally fell in love with these people. Their whole reason for being in an RV is to see national parks and to eat at as many different Outback steakhouses as they can across the country. So they were super excited that the city were going to have 2 different Outbacks they could check off their lists. They even took me to get an early dinner with them before dropping me off the airport. They were so sweet they insisted on giving me $100 bill to make sure I had money for an emergency. They are going to stay in touch and maybe even come to see me at the end of the summer and yes, eat at the Outback in town. So, that's really it. I'm sick about introducing my ex to backpacking and confirming he's a piece of shit by doing damage to irreplaceable art and nature. But I'm also glad I'm safe. I dropped a whole bunch of dead weight and got some awesome honorary grandparents out of it. Final comments. Commenter 1. I know this started off as a fairly shitty situation to be in, but good God, those people sound wholesome as shit. Retired older people living life really are the best. Glad you managed to get out of this mess and actually relax a bit before flying out. Reply, I know they were so charming. They got married during college, share each other's passions. Laughed the whole time they were together. They've given me a model for what I want out of a relationship. Commenter 2, legit question. Are all Outback steakhouses not practically identical? Isn't it a chain? Also OP. Glad you're in a good place and away from that dick. But seriously, I need to know about the Outback steakhouses. Reply. I've actually only ever eaten there with them, and it was really good. But yes, they love that they get the exact same meal in Florida that they do in Seattle. It was just so cute to see them. They literally knew more about Outback than the manager did. Commenter 3. How are there guys like this out there? Anger and destruction issues. Where do they come from? And how do they continue to find girlfriends? Ugh, glad you made it out okay. The old couple sounds cute as heck. I love the hound scent joke. Hope this didn't spoil your love for hiking, and are able to get out there soon with a new BF to share it with. Good luck. Reply. That's the good thing is I'd only been dating him about 6 weeks. I think a lot of it was COVID loneliness. He was friend of friends and he talked a much bigger game about being into the stuff I was into than he actually was. Lesson learned for sure. Commenter 4. Thanks for the update. I'm glad your terrible experience with I'm not even sure what to call him, turned into a great one with your new grandparents. I sure do love a happy ending. It's sad that probably nothing will be done about the destruction of our national property. I sure would like the idiot to be punished, but at least you're rid of him. Reply. The ranger said they actually take it very seriously, so they will do all they can. And he said most people are caught if there's a witness. Stories number 21, Ada for canceling the holidays. I 28F and my husband 29M are expecting our second baby. I'm due in mid-December, and the baby literally could come any time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. In the past, we have traveled to his extended family about 1.5 hours for Thanksgiving, and spent the weekend. And for Christmas, we spend 3 to 5 days before with my family 2.5 hours away. Come home Christmas Eve, and then spend Christmas Day afternoon a few days after with his immediate family, who are nearby. Because of the timing, my husband asked me what I wanted to do, and I said we can probably attend a Thanksgiving gathering, but I want to stay local for Christmas. I said I don't want to make any plans, but we decided that if in the moment we feel up to going somewhere, or if my toddler and husband want to go, or we want to have guests, then we can, but we don't want to commit or make any promises. We gave everyone a heads up that we won't be traveling for the holidays, and everyone was initially fine with it. However, as people are making holiday plans, there has been pushback from both sides. My family is upset that they don't get to see our toddler, and have said that we are canceling the holidays at her expense. Most recently, my in-laws said they wanted to have Christmas Day at our house so everyone could meet the new baby, and so we wouldn't be excluded. My husband firmly said no and shut the conversation down, but now they are annoyed at us too. Many family members also think that we are being unreasonable, especially for my husband and toddler not planning on going to gatherings. They said they understand me not wanting to go, but that my husband still should be able to. Commenter 1. Your families are seriously complaining that you want to keep the month around your due date open? NTA. Commenter 2. NTA, but both y'all's families sure are. Keep firm on this, and just don't go anywhere at all. Enjoy the time with your new little, and tell the family they can come around after the new year since they decided to be such entitled AHs about it. Commenter 3. NTA. My kids were all due around Thanksgiving 1 before and 2 after, and to anyone who pressured me, I said, I will not make any plans or commitments, and if I happen to be home, I will order pizza. Make no plans. Commit to nothing. I was pressured as well. Don't give in. You get to make this entirely about you and your comfort, and everyone else can suck it. Commenter 4. NTA. Your families are being ridiculous. It's also peak cold flu COVID season. Isolating for a bit before baby actual arrives isn't a bad way to do it. And no way would I be hosting a holiday at my home with the entire family with a newborn. We had an end of October baby last year, supposed to be early Nov, and we just told everyone we were doing our own stuff for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was quiet and peaceful, and everyone stayed healthy despite the older kids being school-aged. Stories number 22, My Day Today. This is what just work harder actually looks like. 5:30 a.m., wake up, skip shower to save on water bill. 6:15 a.m., breakfast is toast and black coffee. That's it. It's 45 a.m., check bank account, $23 until Friday, need $15 for gas to make it to work this week. That leaves $8 for everything else. Car won't start. Check engine light's been on for months but I can't afford to fix it. Try 3 times. Finally starts. 5 a.m., late to work because of the car. Boss doesn't care why, just says don't let it happen again. Work 8 hours at the warehouse, no AC, it's 100+ degrees inside. Make 14-hour. My back hurts. Lunch is rice and beans I packed. Same thing I ate yesterday and the day before. 5 p.m., get home, email from landlord. Rent's going up $150 next month. I already can't afford it now. 6 p.m., dinner, more rice and beans, do the math. Even working 60 hours a week at 2 jobs, I can't cover rent, utilities, gas, food, and car insurance. There's no emergency fund, there's nothing left. 8,000 p.m., leave for my second job. Retail until midnight, 39-hour, get yelled at by customers. Stand for 4 hours, come home exhausted. 12:30 a.m., finally sit down. Check bank account again, still 23 or nothing changed. Sleep for 5 hours, wake up tomorrow and do it all again. I'm not lazy, I work 60+ hours a week, but the math doesn't work. Wages don't cover cost of living, and I'm tired of people acting like working harder will fix a broken system. This is my life every single day, and I'm exhausted. Commenter 1. People who've never lived it will never understand the physical and mental destruction that comes with poverty. It gets harder and harder to have any hope. I'm not far from where you are. Wishing you peace and really good luck. Reply, thanks, appreciate it. Some days it feels impossible to keep going, but what choice do we have, right? Commenter 2. Rich people be like, lol, why would you even work a $14 hour job? You should just try harder. This is why I think everyone should experience poverty for at least 2 years. Sometimes it feels like the harder you work, the poorer you become. I don't know how that works, but that's just how it often feels to me. Commenter 3. This is what people don't fully get when they say things like, just work harder, etc. In previous generations, you could just work one 40-hour job that did not require a college degree, and you could have a good standard of living. My 75-year-old father never made more than the median American income, and he could get married, Raise 3 kids, buy a regular house in the suburbs, afford 2 cars, mom worked only part-time, afford a vacation every summer, healthcare for the whole family, retired after 30 years with his company with a generous pension and healthcare, lived a good quality middle-class life. With one regular blue-collar union job, those days are gone. They are probably gone forever. It's sad. Both political parties have sold out working people. There has been a massive transfer of wealth over the last 40 years. It has gone in the wrong direction. The American oligarchs and ruling class have fully bought off our government. They have used propaganda effectively to divide and hoodwink the people. They have the people divided, but they are fully united in their agenda. And they still are not satisfied. Their soulless greed and lust for wealth and power is like a drug, a sickness. They still want more. Stories number 23. Today was the most angry I've ever been in 9 years of teaching. I feel like if I don't get this out, it's going to eat me alive. Had a student in class today start crying. Nothing new it happens, but it breaks my heart every time. Her parents are divorcing and she got overwhelmed. I took her in the hallway and tried to talk to her, but she was distraught, sobbing. I asked her if she wanted to go to the restroom and she did. But she stayed in there 20 minutes or so. I called the nurse and asked if she could check on her, or ask another AP, and she said she would. No one fucking showed up. It's a small campus with 2 APs and the principal. I get it if you're busy, but this fucking child needed help. I couldn't go in there and check on her mail, so I was expecting someone to help, but no one came. She was eventually taken by 2 of my seniors to a side office and talked with her. While I appreciate them greatly and am so impressed by them, they shouldn't have to fucking do that. It's the goddamn adult's responsibility. I went and checked on her for a minute or 2, but I had class and couldn't just leave them there. Eventually class ends and she is still in there. I check on her one more time and finally see an AP and flag her down. She called another AP because it was her office and she eventually shows up. But neither of them go to check on her. They call the counselor, and when she gets there she comments, "Don't have time for this. Let's get it over with." Eventually they take her downstairs. But at this point, I am about to fucking lose it. How fucking dare you treat this child that way? How fucking dare you? She is visibly upset and for good reason. It's a difficult time in her life, and all they can muster is a fucking dog and pony show of giving a fuck. I could spend 4 hours in a rage room, and I wouldn't be over this. This is going to stick with me forever. I am still shaking with rage. Commenter 1. I never understand people in this line of work with that type of attitude. Commenter 2. As a former sensitive student who was scolded for my feelings, who is now a sensitive teacher, thank you for the comfort you gave her and the support you tried to provide. She's lucky to have you, especially if the admin and counselors aren't keeping up their end of the deal. Is there a school-based psychologist or social worker you could get her in to see? The world is topsy-turvy, and we really don't know the extent of our students' home situations. It's a large part of why I never assign homework. Thank you for advocating for her and showing her care. Commenter 3. That's awful. I'm thoroughly convinced that people who aspire to being APs are the ones who had no emotional attachment to the kids as teachers. I crashed out and retired early because of a bad AP. But the reason we don't give up is because we honestly care for them and enjoy being around them while getting to follow our specialty. If not for the kids, what's the actual point? Commenter 4. I can't offer you any suggestions, but I will tell you that many moons ago, I was that girl. The administrators didn't care, but I was lucky enough to have one teacher who did. He listened while I told him my sister had attempted suicide the day before. Truthfully, without him, I wouldn't have made it. She will remember you, and that you cared. Trust me, mine was 40 years ago. Stories number 24. My neighbor's daughter vandalized my new fence and I ended up calling the cops on her. Hey everyone. I've been lurking on here for a while, but this is my first time posting because I'm still fuming about what happened last weekend, and I need some outside perspectives. I'm a 42-year-old guy named Ethan Harper, living in a quiet suburb outside of Seattle. I've got a decent job as a software engineer, work from home most days, and I take a lot of pride in my property. I bought this house 5 years ago after my divorce from my ex-wife, Lisa, and I've been slowly fixing it up to make it my own little oasis. Nothing fancy, just a nice backyard with a garden, a deck, and recently, a brand new wooden fence that I installed myself over the summer. It cost me about $2,500 in materials and countless weekends of sweat equity. But it was worth it to keep my dog, Buddy, from wandering off and to have some privacy from the neighbors. The neighbors in question are the Johnsons, Mark and Emily Johnson, a couple in their late 30s with 2 kids. Their son, Tyler, is about 10 and seems like a sweet kid, always waving when he sees me mowing the lawn. But their daughter, Sophia, who's 16, is a whole different story. She's got that typical teenage attitude, blasting music from her room at all hours, and I've seen her hanging out with a rough crowd from the local high school. Nothing too alarming at first, just kids being kids, you know? But over the past year, things have escalated. It started with little stuff like her friends parking in front of my driveway, blocking me in, or throwing trash over the old chain-link fence that used to separate our yards. I tried to be the good neighbor. I talked to Mark about it a couple of times. Politely, over a beer on his porch. He's a mechanic, works long hours, and Emily is a nurse, so they're both busy. Mark always apologized, said he'd talk to Sophia, and for a week or two, things would quiet down. But then it'd start up again. Emily even baked me cookies once as an apology after Sophia's friends egged my mailbox last Halloween. I laughed it off back then, figuring it was just pranks. But deep down, I was getting tired of it. Fast forward to this summer, I finally saved up enough to replace that rickety old fence with a proper 6-foot cedar one. I hired a buddy from work, Ryan Mitchell, to help me with the heavy lifting. And we spent 3 full weekends digging post holes, setting the panels, and staining it all. Ryan's a contractor on the side, so he made sure it was sturdy and looked professional. My other neighbor, Mrs. Clara Bennett, she's this sweet 70-year-old widow who lives on the other side, even complimented me on how much it improved the block. "Looks like $1 million, Ethan," she said. Buddy loved it too. He could run around without me worrying about him getting into the street. Everything was great until last Friday night. I was inside watching a movie with my girlfriend, Olivia Reed. We've been dating for about a year now, and she stays over on weekends. Olivia's a teacher at the elementary school downtown, super patient and kind, which is why she's good with kids. Around 10 p.m., we heard this loud crash from the backyard. Like wood splintering, I jumped up, grabbed a flashlight, and ran out there with Buddy barking like crazy. What I saw made my blood boil. A huge section of my brand new fence was smashed in, like someone had kicked it or hit it with something heavy. There were boot prints in the mud, and spray paint tags all over the panels, stuff like loser and some crude drawings. And right there, scrambling over the broken part into the Johnsons' yard, was Sophia and 2 of her friends. I yelled out, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Sophia turned around, flipped me off, and laughed as she and her buddies, a girl named Haley and a guy named Dylan, disappeared into her house. I could hear them giggling inside. I was shaking with anger. This wasn't some minor prank. This was straight-up vandalism. The damage was bad. 3 panels cracked, posts bent, paint everywhere. I took photos with my phone right away, then called Olivia out to see. She was shocked and suggested I go knock on the Johnsons' door right then. "So I did," Mark answered, looking tired in his pajamas. I explained what happened, showed him the photos on my phone. He sighed, called Sophia downstairs. She came down with this smug look, arms crossed, denying everything at first. "I didn't do anything, Mr. Harper. You're just paranoid." But when Mark pressed her, she admitted it was just a joke, because she thought my fence was ugly and blocked her view or something ridiculous like that. Mark grounded her on the spot, promised to pay for the repairs, and apologized profusely. Emily came down too, looking mortified, and offered to help clean it up the next day. I went home feeling a bit better, thinking that was the end of it. But the next morning, Saturday, I woke up early to assess the damage in daylight. It was worse than I thought. The spray paint had seeped into the wood, and the broken sections would need full replacement. I estimated it at least $800 to fix, plus my time. I texted Mark about it, and he replied saying he'd come over later to discuss. Olivia and I spent the morning cleaning what we could, scraping paint off with solvents I had in the garage. Around noon, Mark showed up with Emily and Sophia in tow. Sophia was sulking, clearly forced to be there. Mark handed me a check for $500, saying that's what he could afford right now, and they'd pay the rest in installments. Emily made Sophia apologize, but it was the most insincere sorry I've ever heard. She rolled her eyes and muttered it under her breath. I accepted the check but told them I expected full reimbursement, and that Sophia should help fix it as part of her punishment. Mark agreed, but Sophia stormed off, yelling something about how I was overreacting and it's just a fence. That afternoon, while I was at the hardware store picking up supplies with Ryan's advice over the phone, he suggested specific wood filler and paint remover. I got a call from Clara. She said she saw Sophia and her friends hanging out in the Johnsons' backyard, laughing about the fence, and one of them, Dylan was bragging about how they used a baseball bat to smash it. Clara's got security cameras because she's alone a lot, and she offered to pull the footage if I needed it. I thanked her and said I'd think about it. When I got home, I tried to start repairs, but the more I worked on it, the angrier I got. This wasn't the first time, and Sophia's attitude showed she didn't care. Olivia tried to calm me down, saying teenagers make mistakes, and maybe giving her a chance to make it right would teach her a lesson. But then, that evening, I heard more noise. Turns out Sophia had snuck out and was having a little party in her yard with Haley, Dylan, and a few others. They were blasting music, and I could see them through the broken fence section, toasting with what looked like beer cans, though they're underage. One of them even kicked at the damaged part again, making it worse. That was the last straw. I called the non-emergency police line and reported the vandalism. 2 officers showed up about an hour later. Officer Ramirez and Officer Patel. Nice guys. Took my statement, looked at the damage, and I showed them the photos and the check from Mark as proof I'd tried to handle it civilly. Clara came over with her camera footage, which clearly showed Sophia, Haley, and Dylan approaching my fence with a bat and spray cans around 9:45 p.m. the night before. The officers went next door to talk to the Johnsons. All hell broke loose after that. Mark and Emily were furious. Not at Sophia, but at me for escalating it to the cops. Mark banged on my door later that night, yelling about how I could have just let them handle it as a family. She's just a kid, Ethan. You didn't have to ruin her life over a stupid fence. Emily was crying, saying Sophia could get a record now, and it might affect her college applications. Sophia herself was nowhere to be seen, probably hiding upstairs. The police ended up citing Sophia for vandalism and trespassing. It's a misdemeanor here, but since she's a minor, it'll likely be community service or something light. Haley and Dylan got pulled in too, their parents. The Millers, Greg and Susan Miller for Haley, and the Parkers, Tom and Karen Parker for Dylan, called me the next day begging me not to press charges. Greg even offered to pay the remaining repair costs if I dropped it. Now, the whole neighborhood is divided. Clara's on my side, saying it's about time someone stood up to those kids. Ryan thinks I did the right thing, as does Olivia, though she's a bit worried about the backlash. But Mark and Emily have been giving me the cold shoulder, and I've heard through the grapevine that they're telling people I'm a jerk for not giving Sophia a second chance. I feel bad for the parents. They seem like decent people overwhelmed with work and kids. But Sophia's behavior has been escalating, and if not now, when? My property is my sanctuary, and I worked hard for it. Was I wrong to involve the police after trying to resolve it privately? Or should I have just eaten the cost and let it slide? Edit, thanks for the responses so far. To clarify, I did give them a chance. Mark promised to fix it. But Sophia's continued attitude and the party that night pushed me over. No, I don't hate kids. I volunteer at Olivia's school sometimes. Just hate entitlement. Going back, my divorce from Lisa was messy. We were married for 10 years, no kids, but she left for someone else, a guy named Brandon from her office. That's why the house means so much to me. It's my fresh start. Buddy, my golden retriever, was the only thing I kept from that life, and protecting him with the fence was priority 1. As for Sophia, I remember the first time I met her properly. It was 2 years ago at a block party Clara organized. Sophia was 14 then, shy at first, but by the end of the night, she was chatting with Tyler about video games. Mark grilled burgers, Emily made salads. It was nice. But high school changed her. Haley Miller, her best friend, lives a few blocks away. Haley's dad, Greg, is a real estate agent. Always driving a fancy SUV, Dylan Parker is the boyfriend type. I think Tom Parker owns a construction company. Ironic given the damage. The day after the cops left, I got a visit from Susan Miller. Haley's mom, she's a stay-at-home parent, volunteers at the PTA. She brought over a casserole and pleaded with me to talk to the prosecutor about dropping the charges. Haley's a good girl, Mr. Harper. This could ruin her future. I felt guilty, but I stood firm. Actions have consequences. Karen Parker called too. More aggressive. You think you're better than us because you live alone? My son's just following the crowd. Tom backed her up in the background. Meanwhile, Officer Ramirez followed up. Said the case is straightforward with the evidence. The repair bill ended up at $950. Ryan came over Sunday to help fix it, and we reinforced the posts. Olivia and I talked it out that night over dinner. She's supportive, but suggested maybe offering Sophia a way to make amends, like yard work, I considered it. But after seeing her post on social media, Clara showed me, Sophia didn't block her. Something like old man next door is a snitch LOL. I decided against it. A week later, things are tense. Mark mows his lawn without waving. Emily avoids eye contact at the grocery store. Tyler still waves though, innocent kid. Clara baked me pie, said the neighborhood needs more people like me. So yeah, that's the full saga. Did I go too far? Update. Wow, you guys blew up my inbox with over 500 comments. Thanks for all the support, advice, and even the tough love. It's been 2 weeks since the original post, and a lot has happened. I figured I'd come back with an update because things have escalated in ways I didn't expect. And honestly, I'm starting to question if I handled everything right. Buckle up, this is gonna be lengthy. First off, quick recap for anyone new. My 16-year-old neighbor Sophia Johnson and her friends Haley Miller and Dylan Parker trashed my new fence with a baseball bat and spray paint. I tried to sort it out with her parents, Mark and Emily, but after Sophia kept acting entitled and even made it worse during a sneaky party, I called the cops. She got cited for vandalism, and now the neighborhood's split. My girlfriend Olivia thinks I did the right thing, but the Johnsons are pissed. Okay, onto the update. The day after I posted, I got a formal letter from the county prosecutor's office, turns out. Because Sophia's a minor, and it's her first offense, as far as they know. They're offering a diversion program. Basically, community service, restitution, and some counseling instead of a court record. Mark called me that evening, sounding more defeated than angry this time. Ethan, man, can we talk? Emily and I are at our wits' end. I agreed to meet them at a neutral spot, the coffee shop downtown called Brew Haven. It's run by this guy named Victor Sanchez, who's always got the best lattes. We sat down, and it was awkward at first. Emily looked like she hadn't slept in days, eyes red from crying. Mark explained that Sophia's been spiraling since starting high school. Apparently her grades dropped last year. She got caught skipping classes, and they've suspected her of vaping or worse with that crowd. Haley's parents, Greg and Susan, had similar issues. Greg mentioned over the phone that Haley's been grounded indefinitely. Dylan, though, his folks Tom and Karen Parker are another story. Tom showed up uninvited to the coffee meetup, barging in like he owned the place. This is bullshit, Harper. My boy's not a criminal. He's just a dumb kid following girls. Karen was on speakerphone, yelling about how I was destroying families over wood. I stayed calm, thanks to Olivia prepping me with some deep breathing tips. I told them straight, I'd support the diversion if Sophia actually showed remorse and helped fix the fence. Mark agreed immediately, but Tom stormed out, muttering about lawyers. Emily shared that they'd found spray cans in Sophia's room and grounded her from her phone and car. She drives an old Honda that Mark fixed up for her 16th birthday. The next weekend, Sophia showed up at my door with Emily supervising. She was dressed in old clothes, ready to work. Her apology this time seemed genuine, or at least rehearsed well. Mr. Harper, I'm really sorry for what I did. It was stupid, and I didn't think about how much work you put into it. I accepted, and we spent the afternoon sanding down the damaged panels. Ryan Mitchell, my contractor buddy, swung by to oversee and brought tools. He even taught Sophia how to use a power sander properly. Buddy the dog was wary at first, but ended up following her around, which lightened the mood. Clara Bennett, my elderly neighbor, watched from her porch and later told me she was proud. That girl's learning, Ethan. Better now than later. But not everything was smooth midway through. Sophia's phone buzzed. Emily had given it back temporarily for emergencies. And it was Dylan texting her crap like, "Screw that old dude. Come hang." She showed it to her mom, who confiscated it again. Turns out, Dylan's parents aren't cooperating much. Tom refused to make him help, claiming it was not his problem. By Monday, the repairs were mostly done. Total cost came to $1,020 after all. And Mark paid the balance in cash. I felt good about it until I got an anonymous note in my mailbox. "Snitches get stitches, watch your back." It was handwritten. Sloppy teenage scrawl. I showed it to Olivia, who freaked out and insisted I report it. Clara's cameras caught a hooded figure dropping it off. Looked like Dylan, based on his build and the skateboard he ditched nearby. I called Officer Ramirez back. He took it seriously, especially with the ongoing case. They visited the Parkers, and Tom blew up, denying everything. But Karen cracked under pressure and admitted Dylan was mad about the citations. Now Dylan's facing an additional intimidation charge, which has Tom threatening to sue me for harassment. Greg Miller, Haley's dad, called to distance his family. We're making Haley do her part. But those Parkers are toxic, stay clear. Meanwhile, Sophia's diversion started. She's doing 40 hours at the local animal shelter. Ironic. Since Buddy loves her now, Emily says it's helping. Sophia's opening up in counseling about peer pressure and feeling neglected with her parents' work schedules. Mark quit his second job at the auto shop to be home more. And they're planning family therapy. Tyler, the little brother, even drew me a picture of a fence with a happy face, saying sorry for my sister, but the backlash hasn't stopped. At the grocery store, I ran into Victor from the coffee shop. He's friends with Tom. And he gave me side-eye, online. Someone, probably Karen, posted on the neighborhood Facebook group about overzealous neighbors ruining kids' lives. Clara defended me in the comments, and it turned into a flame war. Olivia's school colleagues heard about it too. One parent whose kid is in her class pulled her aside, asking if I was that guy who hates teens. Last twist, yesterday, I found out through Ryan, who knows everyone in construction, that Tom Parker's company lost a big contract because of the drama. Apparently, the client Googled him and saw local news blurbs about the vandalism case. Tom's blaming me, of course. Mark stopped by to warn me. Tom's unhinged, Ethan. If he shows up, call the cops. So here I am, fence fixed but neighborhood tense. Olivia and I are talking about moving, maybe to a quieter area near Portland. But I love this house. Was reporting worth it? Yeah, I think so. Sophia seems on a better path. But the ripple effects are exhausting. Thanks again for reading. Any advice on dealing with angry neighbors? Edit to the update. Just got off the phone with the prosecutor. Dylan's charges are sticking and Haley's doing diversion too. Sophia finished her first shelter shift and actually liked it. Wants to volunteer more. Small wins,